Gila deactivates the holographic puck, swallowing up the images of a scarf-clad Vilra and a battered two-pint and a hastily running Tanal at the communications yard, captured by a seeker droid that you didn't see and couldn't intercept. And as Dale stands up from his chair, he's finished kind of de-gearing from his night shift in the rig, and he just looks at you all.
You want to lecture us, or you want to know what we found?
I guess you should tell me what you found.
All right. Gila, you want to play it?
Oh, so it's my turn to talk? Okay, yeah. Plays the recordings, and shows him on the data pad all the things that they have found up until this moment, going into obnoxious detail.
He would ask briefly who those people are and if they're here on Fest, the planet. And if you clarify for him the relationships, depending on how much detail you're willing to give, but if you're willing to explain the personal nature of the message, then he would nod and he would understand that.
I think Gila would reveal that they are, like, people from on their planet. Maybe not the exact natures of those things, but
yeah,
go into at least that much detail.
So you can't go home, and it's going to become really difficult to stay.
It's the gist of it.
Do you have a plan?
We're working on a plan, but recent information has changed the plan, so we have 46% of a plan.
They're running overtime shifts on the rig. Double production, day and night. But they don't have enough room to store the hydrocarbon as it comes up. So they're stockpiling it on the upper platform, on the upper deck, waiting for the pickup, which is scheduled to come. Scheduled to come in the next week or so. It's going to be a lot of hydrocarbon exposed. And he looks at Tanal now as he starts talking about this.
Sounds like you've got at least 10% of a plan.
Is that 56?
Past the halfway point. Doing pretty good.
And what do you do with those workers who are pulling those double shifts that are still on the rig if there was an accident? Because choices have consequences.
Find a way to get him off first.
Or inform them of the plan is also on the table. Both are both volatile and dangerous.
If they know, they might be willing to take the risk.
I think that's likely, especially since now the Empire is planning on killing this town twice as fast as it has been.
I think people are inherently good in that they'll do the right thing.
The crew
When you push
boats
too
not
hard, people push back.
the crew boats aren't big enough to get everyone off in one trip. You would need another way to get them off.
When we find a ship,
Find a ship, or we make sure that not everyone shows up initially.
Food poisoning is such a real threat because of the contaminated fish and sea life that it wouldn't be, I don't say, outlandish should everyone have tummy troubles on a certain day.
Right?
Or a lot of people having tummy troubles.
It's hard to be motivated to go arrest someone if they're gonna, barf all over you.
That's true.
Probably.
Yeah.
There are escape hatches down to the water, but you need a lot more boats to get everybody off.
Oh. It's a good thing this was a fishing village, isn't it?
Yeah, we've got lots of boats. Just gotta have people ready at the time to go pick them up.
That's some rough water out under the rig. And if there's debris, it's going to be dangerous. You need captains who are willing to take that risk.
And explain to them that leaving that thing as it is more dangerous.
I think they know all this. I think a lot of these people have thought about this. But until someone decides to take action, they don't want to be the one that suggests it in case it goes wrong. Or in case someone turns them in. So, I can't imagine that these people haven't thought about this before. Hypothetically.
Right.
Somebody would have to go find the captains, convince them, and everyone would have to be ready at the same time.
Luckily, between all of us, we've got a bit of a penchant for agitation, so...
He nods. That still doesn't solve the problem of what happens to you after.
that's why we get a ship.
I saw some decommissioned stuff that could be repaired subtly and borrowed less subtly.
You can fly?
Yes, very well. I'm quite good at it. How do you think we got here?
How did you get here?
In a ship.
So you already have a ship.
No, it broke. It broke real bad. Real bad.
But that
Not my
wasn't
fault.
Wilbur's fault. It was
Thank
in
you.
really rough shape before.
Yeah,
They
it was.
Say every
Mhm.
they say every flight you walk away from is a successful one. So
Thank you, Sheila.
yeah.
I've never heard that, but I'm sure it's true.
So someone has to be on the rig and organize the evacuation. Somebody has to be on the boats organizing the captains. And somebody has to be ready for a quick pickup when there's a response from the Empire.
Well, we already know that they don't search the droids as well, going to and from the docks. So, give me a little makeover, and I'll just zip through. I can be there.
Yes, and I have a way to install armaments. Kind of.
Ooh.
Basically, do you want a little stun gun in your tummy? Because I can do that. I think I can do that.
Yes, I think
Yes.
that would be cool. I am worried about losing my little storage compartment, but I think,
We'll
I
figure
think we can
something
make it
out.
work.
Yeah. And you, Rick's people know you. They like you. They trust you. I think you could be a commanding presence in motivating people to disembark quickly.
I've thought about how it could be done, but not in those types of circumstances. It's a lot of oil, and it'd be very dangerous.
I'd argue it's more dangerous to just let the ocean get polluted and then there being no fish to eat. So, just a slower dangerous.
Like you say, agitation. He looks at Snell.
Yeah. It's
You
pretty
need
easy. I've spent my time pissing you off, haven't I?
Or perhaps just reminding me of what it means to take a stand and why. So we need the people, we have to have a place, and we have to have a plan. And I want to thank everybody watching us for planning part of their day to join us, and we welcome you to Quadrilateral Frostfall, a Star Wars the role-playing game actual play. Welcome to Dungeon Scrawlers, your home for adventures told by some of your favorite authors, storytellers. But before we introduce everyone, I have two great sponsors I want to tell you about. Both make dice, and both are awesome in very different ways. In a realm where most warriors use plastic, light weapons, Norse Foundry specializes in metal dice. When you roll them, it feels like you are skillfully smashing the monster horn. Norse Foundry offers other cool gaming accessories as well, and you can find their store and more about them at norsefoundry.com. Phoenix Dice is named for the creature that rises from the ashes because they use all recycled materials for their dice. They are always designing and testing multiple types of recycled materials for your enjoyment, raising dice from the ashes and onwards to epic adventures. You can find their dice and accessories at phoenixdice.com. Welcome to Quadrilateral Frostfall, a Star Wars actual play using Star Wars the Role-Playing Game 2nd Edition as originally published by West End Games. I am your Game Master, Jason Collins. I'm an actual play streamer, freelance tabletop role-playing game designer, and comic book writer. You can find my work and links to the first chapter of Quadrilateral on my link tree at digital_Collins. You can also, of course, find all of the shows on the Dungeon Scrawlers Twitch and YouTube channels.
Hi, everybody. My name is Barnaby. You can find me all over the internet at that's_Barnaby. I'm a TTRPG illustrator as well as apparently an actual player. Thanks for having me.
Hey everyone, my name is Mara. You can find me on the internet at College of Lore Dropout or just Lore Dropout. Pick one, you'll get there eventually. You can also find me over on Starlight Tales, a queer and trans-led actual play all about space and stars and a lot of robots recently. So, you know I like those.
Hi, I'm Diana. You can find me on the internet at Sapphic Stregonona or just Sapphic Strega. You can also find me over on Starlight Tales or in the upcoming TTRPG Story Bake. It's a fun little baking adventure. Go check it out. Don't know if it's out yet. Who's to say by the time this comes out? But if not, keep an eye out.
Hi, everyone. My name is May. You can find me on the internet at Maybe Mayhem. I am an actual play performer at this point, I guess. And you can also find me on my podcast, Socially Plagued, where my friend Mary Kate and I complain about stuff and just have a good time.
After escaping the communications yard, after a deadly encounter with Imperial secret droids that were patrolling it, you return to Dale's homestead with a disabled 2-pint, which after some quick repairs, you were able to bring 2-pint back up online after being stunned into oblivion by the secret droid. In addition, not only did you retrieve your droid, but you retrieved the messages from the communications array, including a second encrypted message hidden in the body of the first, and you needed to decode it. And Gila was able to do that. And in doing so, she discovered that the message was sent in the language of the Ithorians, and so you needed a translator to translate that. You happen to know where there's a protocol droid available in the local settlement, at the cantina, a 3PO unit, a protocol droid mounted to a base inside the cantina for pay-on-demand translation services. You go to the cantina, and you just discover some new drinks for the first time, and 2-pint attempts to make a new friend. Q3PO, a very opinionated protocol droid, and also perhaps a little resentful having been deprived of its legs and mounted to this cantina wall for the last many years. But Q3PO was able to decode the message for you and translate the Ithorian. And what the translation revealed was that Vin, Tanal's stepfather, clone trooper, had sent coordinates of various systems where there was either a site of a former battle during the Clone Wars that Vin knows could still have a small base, a small outpost. Those were abandoned and evacuated quickly as battles shifted and moved, and so there could still be supplies and places, shelters you could go to, including perhaps even 1 or 2 safe houses that your old Uncle Rex used for his program of hiding and helping the clone troopers who were either had gone AWOL from the Empire or had been left unable to fend for themselves and needed help to survive. And so those safe houses could still be out there as well. He gave you several systems with locations of these places if you need a place to go to get away or to get off the hyperspace lanes for a period of time. Vin doesn't know where you are, but he's trying to give you some places to go if you need it. You went back to Dale's homestead. You left the cantina intending to go back to Dale's homestead. Imperial snowtrooper patrols had started to pick up in the main streets, and so you took some back alleys and some side paths to get there, which meant you stumbled across the path of a older human mechanic by the name of Brim. Brim, who thought that he recognized Vilra, not through her face because it was obscured, but through the tools that she carried, as he recognized a fellow starship mechanic in his midst. Without having a full functioning spaceport, there's not too many ships that come in, and so Brim had a moment of kindred spirit where he was able to talk to Vilra about ships and tools and repairs and about old Wookiee companions. Brim hinted that he was still had access to the bays in the settlement, the old shuttered bays, and he even might know the location of a starship, but you wanted to get off the street, you wanted to get away from the snowtrooper patrols, and Brim is an unknown entity to you, and you didn't know if you could trust him, and so you quickly left. Back to Dale's homestead, finally sleep for some of you. And in the morning, Dale returned from his night shift on the rig, and when he returned, He talked to you all about choices and about consequences and about being captured on hologram as he produced a holographic puck showing the forms of Vilra and Two-Pint and Tanal in the communications yard as they had survived an encounter with a seeker droid, but were captured on the camera of a second seeker droid that was in the area that escaped and was able to obviously relay this transmission, which Dale warns you has now been dropped onto the local network here in Somber. Dale says someone needs to go and talk to the boat captains, but you need to make sure that if you think you have a way off-world, you want to secure that before we decide if we're going to do something. Because once we put this into motion, we can't stop it. And if there's anything else you need to settle up while you're here, now's the time. But now you need to be aware they're going to be looking for these individuals. And you can't risk getting captured.
Right. Well.
You still have the weapons I gave you?
Yep.
We should go check on Sledge or whatever.
Yeah.
I keep forgetting about him.
Forgot he was here.
Yeah.
Jeez. Okay.
I mean, because if he says our names,
yeah,
or if they
he wakes
ask
up and
him,
starts talking, we could have a
I
problem.
don't think he's that dumb. I don't think he'll do that.
I don't think
I don't
so
think
either.
he'll mean to.
Yeah, but if
He's gonna
like
wake up
out
in a
of
strange
it,
place, surrounded by strange people, and start asking questions.
And the infirmary folks seem pretty nice, but I'm worried if Imperials show up and they ask questions.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know.
We gotta also figure out what to do with him in our escape plan. Are we bringing him with us again? I hate that guy.
Yeah, he kind of sucks.
I mean, I guess we could ask him, and then wherever we end up next, he could get on another ship if he wants to go his own way. But
there's also a good chance he doesn't like us either. So
right.
Yeah.
But yeah, maybe step one, figure out ship situation.
We met that gentleman who may be able to help us. Brem.
Yeah,
Brem.
I liked him. I'd like to talk to him more just so that I can also just talk about stuff I like, which is nice. And yeah, if he has access and is as, let's say, progressive thinking as we all are, I got a vibe, not like a force vibe, but just like a regular people vibe, that he seemed pretty chill. But at the moment we were all pretty terrified, so it was hard to.
Yeah.
Retrospective vibe.
And perhaps you're the person to talk to him. You know, y'all can talk shop, as it were.
And I bet maybe he knows Wookiee too. We can language switch if need be. In case, well, no, that would look really suspicious. I just miss my friends and stuff. My other people, not you guys. I always miss you because when you're not in my line of sight, I'm like a goldfish. So, but
Dale says, I like the idea of the food poisoning, but it'd be really helpful if we could get the food poisoning onto the rig.
Well, it's fake food poisoning. That's what I'm saying. We don't have to actually sick people, make them sick, but it wouldn't be a far-fetched concept if people did get sick. And then if we could get the infirmary folks buy-in to say, like, yes, bad fish has made people sick, no working because of the bowel movements and the throw up.
He says, I can get Grease to help with that.
Yeah. Okay.
Goes over to his bench and he rustles around with some parts and pieces, and he finds something, and then he finds something else. And he holds up, and he has two comm links in his hand, and he tucks one into his belt, and he tosses one to Tanal.
All
He
right.
says, "The range isn't great. They're short range comms. You probably wouldn't catch me if I was on the rig, but if I'm in town and there's no other interference, it may give us a chance to stay in touch."
Okay.
I'm gonna go talk to Greece right now, and talk to a couple people I know, a couple of the other foremans. Take everyone's temperature and see how they're feeling.
All right.
There's been a lot of noise about the overtime, but there's also been a lot of noise about the fishing.
What about the bounty hunters? Has there been noise about them?
Yeah, are they here for someone? Or just in town?
What level of terrified should I be right now? I'm at like a 9, personally.
But
But-
what's the scale? Is it to 10?
He's at a 10, yeah.
Okay.
Uh-huh.
If it was 100, like that'd be pretty good. But
I don't think they're here for you, but as I said, this notice has been dropped to the local network. So if they're looking to pick up any strays while they're here, then there's a risk. And I would say it's a pretty serious one. That's why I wanted to know if you still have the weapons on you.
Yeah.
You just have to
Let's just
remember that if you have to use them, make sure you use them right, but remember escalation will follow.
I wonder if there's a way I could change what's on the local network. See if there's like, they've been captured, so don't even worry about it. You know, something like that.
If that's something that you can do, sure. But
I don't know, I've never tried.
if they discover afterwards, it might buy you time, but if they discover afterwards that it's been tampered with, then they'll know there's a presence, a
That'll just lead them straight to
disruptive
us.
presence in the settlement, and that could cause them to escalate for things further as well.
Great.
Also, how do I hide my face without looking like the hidden face person from the video we just saw?
Dig around. I've got some respirators in here, and I've got some noxious gas respirators, and so they will cover most of that. He says you're going to have to wrap that up. I can't find something that I don't have a helmet that's going to fit your head, but do the best you can.
Okay, thanks.
And then he looks to the rest of you. He says, and go to Munich's closet. There's some clothes. It'll probably fit most of you. I would change up.
Yeah. Okay.
He says, okay. I'll be back in a bit. Or I'll catch up with you later, he would say.
All right. Good luck.
And he sheds off the last of his overalls, the grease-stained overalls, and all of his work gear, and kicks off his boots, and he puts on some of his regular clothes again, and doesn't have a blaster with him because he's given you his blaster that he had, but he has the comm link, and he buckles on a new belt with a bit of extra gear, and then he heads out.
Oh, I hope he gets some coffee. He's been up all night. Poor guy. Right. We should probably get you all changed. And I don't know how to disguise myself more. So if anyone has any ideas as how to not look like the droid in the video, that'd be good.
Yeah.
Only thing I could think of is a paint job.
Yeah, same. We'll think on it while we change.
Right.
You're in an Imperial-controlled settlement. Maybe it's time to look like an Imperial.
Let's not get drastic. Let's not go crazy. But it's not a bad idea.
The other thing is they're looking for 3 people and a droid. Do we split up?
Not looking for me. They're looking for you all.
That's true. They didn't get you.
So if there's anything we need done that's like out in the open, no one pays attention to me, so
Well, we pay attention to you.
I mean it in a good way. I
Oh,
don't
right.
mind that people don't pay attention to me.
Gotcha. That's how you're so good at getting the scoop.
Mm-hmm.
So
Thank you.
our list of objectives: we secure a ship, we get the townsfolk on our side, we have conversations with the boat captains. Is there something else missing in there?
I'll talk to Brim about a ship.
That's a ship part.
Oh, it's a ship part. Oh, sorry. Everything's it's moving really fast all of a sudden.
Julie, did you get a chance to look at the recordings from the Imperial table?
You pull out your recording rod, which you stashed under the reserve table that the Imperials have on standby at the cantina. You hadn't listened to it yet. So many other things happening. It's got, 12, 18 hours worth of recordings. There's a lot of dead air because there's nobody at the table. You can hear like very micro noise in the background that the voices are muffled and too far away. But you can hear the sounds of a cantina and activity during the quiet period. But then there's times when you can hear the shuffling of the chairs and the table getting jostled and drinks coming down and the droid coming by and serving, and then the voices of all the troopers. You can hear the metallic voice of the troopers, and then their helmets come off, and then they sit and they have a drink and they have a meal. And there's a lot of just mundane, just table talk, soldiers off duty, soldiers that are heading to shift, or heading to patrol, talking about technology, talking about what they're doing, talking about how much they hate this place.
Doesn't surprise me. Rations at this
Talking about
posting are
patrols they've
terrible.
done, talking about locals that they've interrogated or questioned or that have been arrested for various infractions. Just that type of cycled conversation that comes around and around. And then at one point, kind of in the midst of it all, there's an authoritative voice at the table. And so it kind of sounds like the voice of an officer, along with some other troopers and things at the table. And they're talking about settlement, and they're talking about schedules, and they're talking about their rotations and when they get to rotate off this rock. And then the officer explains that there's going to be double shifts. Production quotas are being increased. There will be we will need to do another recruitment drive in the settlement, but there will be no room for resistance. That we need as many of the able-bodied workers available because the production's being driven. We need to extract as much hydrocarbon as we can because the ISD Relentless is already en route for pickup. The Empire's quota is increasing and will stay this increased pace until the well is dry or the locals fall over. Is that understood? And there's murmuring at the table and yes sirs and so forth. And so yeah, now you know that the Imperial Star Destroyer Relentless is coming to pick up the hydrocarbon that Dale has just told you they are now stockpiling at a rate too fast to be offloaded. So they're storing it on the rig, on the uppermost levels of the rig for pickup. And Dale thought there'd be another week out. It's en route in hyperspace now.
Okay, this isn't good. We have to let people know they can. We have to move quickly. What do we do, Tanal?
You already... This doesn't change anything. I think that this just changes the timeline. I think it means that we just have to move fast. Like you said, ship, people, plan. We take it, we get off this rock as quick as we can, and we find someplace safe.
This also might be a really great way to motivate people, knowing
Right.
that their options are work to death or rebellion.
Broadcast day. Broadcast day.
Broadcast day.
Broadcast
oh,
day.
God, best day.
Right?
Well, it used to be.
I can, while we're getting everything ready, I can do some of my old art around town, start some conversations going, hopefully, about that. We're all
Yes.
talking to people.
Yes.
You have all new fun colors too. So you
I
can
know,
like,
I'm so excited.
yeah, I'm pretty pumped for you. I feel like this is really going to open up your expressionistic side.
Okay.
Right.
So Two Pine's going to graffiti the town as you go, and when there's time to do so, but they can paint pretty fast.
Gila,
Go ahead. No,
Yes.
go ahead.
I feel like you'd be a really good person to talk to the fishermen, because you kind of became friends with that one couple a little bit.
Yes, I'd love to do that.
Ooh,
Okay, so Vera's going to talk to the guy about the ships. I'm gonna go talk to the fishermen's. You're painting around town. Tanal, what are you doing? Or what do you want to do?
Well, like I said, I'm pretty good at getting people riled up, so I'll head down to the docks with you.
Okay,
You guys make a really good team, so I feel like that makes a lot of sense.
yeah.
what do you think you got?
Right.
Cool.
Okay. So Gila and Tanal are going to go to the docks, seek out the captains and the fishmongers, and talk to them about helping, having boats in the water when the time comes to help with an evacuation. And Two Pint and Vilra are going to go and see a man about a ship. Sounds about right.
Sure.
Everybody needs to change. So you've got access to Munich's clothes, you've access to Dale's clothes. It's all fairly common, standard gear, but you can mix and match and change anything up you need to. Tanal, are you keeping the armor on?
God! She really, really wants to so bad. I think that she just, like, she gets changed and she goes to kind of strap everything back on and then just looks at it and is like, I can't.
What if we like tried to rig it under your clothes? You'll look bulky and weird.
No, I think
No.
for now, I just have to leave it.
You'll bring it back out when the time is right.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It'll be okay. It's not for forever, it's just for now.
Mhm. And when when it won't be needed for like blending in, I can paint all sorts of cool stuff on there and really customize it for you.
Yeah, as soon as we're out of here and not on a planet where we're all actively wanted, I will definitely take you up on that.
I have ideas.
Get a change of clothes, stash the armor, make some changes. Vilra, you need to find a respirator.
Yeah.
So anybody who wants to help Vilra find a respirator, it can roll search under your perception, because Dale's place is a bit of a pile, and so you're gonna have to go digging to find stuff.
This is May speaking. We need to figure out a way to organize his stuff. So that is on Vilra's mind currently.
Got
how
this
to,
guy
like,
an
just-
organization system.
Like for a Jedi, he truly does not understand how practical it is to keep your stuff organized.
I think Tanal will definitely help out because this is kind of how her room at home is. So she's like, yeah, I'm familiar. There's a method to the madness.
Yeah.
But I did roll my perception.
Okay. Yeah,
I got
search
a-
and then perception if you don't have it. Yeah.
Yeah, I got 12, but I rolled a 1 on my wild die.
No. I also got a 12, but no complications.
Okay. Okay. You find a bit more gear, a few common items that could be helpful. You find some respirator masks. There's more than one if someone else wants to wear one as well. And Vilra, you find one of the parts from the tray that he tossed over his shoulder that landed off in the corner somewhere.
What is it?
What is it? What did he show you on the tray that was laid out, but you didn't?
It was a weird cylinder tube thing with a
Yeah.
button. It made no sense.
Yeah. But didn't he call it a weapon?
Yeah, I think so. It was. I don't know. I don't know how it works. Looks through it. I'm just kidding.
I'm
Just kidding.
Yeah, right down the barrel. Go ahead. I think that like if Tanal is helping Vilra, and is kind of like, you know, trying to like put some of their stuff back and moving things around, and is like, oh yeah, you know, it's gonna be, if you do want to get a jump on that, that'll be pretty sick once it's done, right?
What is it? It's a tube.
Vilra, you know the weapons that they use, right?
They use a sword or something, right? Like it's something really weird.
It's like a laser sword.
Is that what this is?
Yeah, dude.
Is this his
I'm pretty sure.
Jedi weapon? What?
I mean, maybe a piece of it. I don't know. I only ever heard stories, but
Yeah, I mean, I was looking at it and I didn't know what it was because it's just a tube. But
You gonna go hunting for the other parts?
yeah, I mean, we're not in a rush right this second, right, guys?
Yeah, but do you feel different? Like holding it? Is there music swelling behind you in your mind?
No, it's more of like kind of, there
Is your
was
anxiety
a,
tingling?
there was a, the Ballad of Benny Hill, I believe. If you are familiar with that, is sometimes playing in my mind on repeat, very loud. But no, I don't, I like the weight of it.
Yeah.
Like it's a good tube.
You
Good on ya.
can reassemble the different components that he showed you before on the tray. Some were still on the workbench, some were on the floor, some were up on a shelf, and you can kind of lay it all out again. And you remember that the main cylinder, the main body, had brackets inside it, just like the brackets inside the egg cup.
Yeah. I think she would go and like find the boot that has the piece and then open the cupboard and the top behind like
Yep.
the can of beans to
Yep.
get that piece.
Yep.
Because once again, I know he's hiding this, but like there's a better way to organize your hiding.
Vilra, I want you to roll your sense for me, please. And because it's only one die, unless you increased it with the last round of character points, it's going to make sure your wild die is part of that.
Yeah, so it's just a 3.
You're getting all the pieces together. And as you reach out to the shelf, you snatch your hand back real fast. Because you get the exact same sensation you got when you were standing in the underground lab beneath the fountain in West Crag on Salashay, when you were staring at a little metal rack of shelves with little pockets, and there was these little metal egg cups on the shelf. And you get the exact same feeling as you look at his little trays of parts and fasteners and connectors just mounted to the wall.
Huh. Okay. It doesn't feel like anxiety now that I know what it is.
What does it feel like?
You know, when a blanket's been out in the sun for like all day and you're kind of cold and then you put it around yourself, it kind of feels like that. Where it's not like an overwhelming, but it's like, oh, that is nice, but different. Yeah, like when we were in the underground and on Salashay by the fountain, with my little, and I think she pulls out her, she has kept it on her, the little egg cup with the rock for all she's concerned. I mean, that's what it is in her mind. It's, I think he has one of these.
Yeah, I think so.
I mean, I think it's a component of the tube.
You'd know more than me.
I don't. So that's what's the most frustrating part. This isn't like a ship or a droid. No offense, droids can be complicated, 2-pint, but I understand them. They make sense. This is like a feeling, and I don't like that as much.
Feelings are fine. Follow that feeling.
Okay, following the feeling. Can I reach back up and try to grab the...
And you just go, and as your hand, she moves her hand across in front of the drawers, but not actually touching the drawers, and then she just stops in front of one and pulls the drawer out. And there's a bunch of components and connectors and all little electrical diodes and fasteners and all sorts of things, and you rustle around with your fingers in this little shallow tray, and then you see a rock, a crystal. When she pulls out the crystal and you're watching, it's red.
Huh. So mine's yellow, but this one's red, so that's cool.
And there are two fasteners inside the chassis of this rod that he had showed you before.
So I can put 2 rocks in there.
It looks like.
Okay. Wait, no, I know my color wheel. So if we do red and yellow, will this make it orange?
I don't know, maybe.
Okay, let's try this. He didn't say I couldn't, so, but it feels like I shouldn't.
Well, to be fair, how much matter could he get at us?
And honestly, I can't even tell that he's mad because he's just so like...
Yeah.
So... Okay, and then I think she takes out her little rock, as far as she's concerned, puts her little yellow one in, puts the red one in, and then just kind of holds the... I'm going to keep calling it a tube until you let me know I'm allowed to say the correct word. I figure it out.
All the components are there, but they just... you're trying to assemble this thing in the order that it seems to make sense to a mechanic.
Yeah.
But it's like the threading isn't quite lined up. It's like the piece is like the diameter is a little too big, a little too small. It's not quite fitting together. And every time you try and snap something in, it just kind of doesn't quite keep the connection, and it kind of falls apart again.
Okay, so maybe it's broken, or I'm doing it wrong, and
Feelings.
Killings. Okay, how do I feel?
Do you remember what he told you?
No.
Gila tells you what he told you, is that you don't just hold it, you have to feel it. You have to concentrate on it.
Okay, so she does that thing where she sits down on the ground and like puts all the stuff in front of her and kind of just like messes them up a little bit. Not organized, not consistent, and just kind of scatters them, gets down crisscross applesauce, and closes her eyes and does that whole like tries to be zen for a minute.
And you know that it appears that the bottom cap is the power supply. You know that's where that would likely go. So if you close your eyes and you're thinking about that for a moment, and you think about what that would mean, and obviously with the power supply is there to perhaps power some type of beam emitter that would channel energy through the device, you presume similar to how a blaster would work, but you've never actually disassembled a blaster. You're not sure. And you know there's a focusing lens, and so if there's some kind of emitter, she called it a laser sword, so maybe the focusing lens goes up top. And so you know that there's probably an order that you need to assemble this in so that everything goes. And in your mind's eye, you're visualizing this. And what you are all seeing is Vilra sitting on the floor, her eyes closed. Perhaps she's even talking out loud a little bit, as Vilras often want to do, talking about which order she's going to assemble these things. And then you see the main cylinder chassis rise up off the tray and float in the air. And then you see the power supply rise up off the floor, and then you see it align, and it goes into the chassis, and it starts to spin as it locks itself into place. And then you see this lens come up and click into place. But then you see that there's actually 2 lenses, and it comes up to each end of it, and both click into place. And she's still talking, and her eyes are closed, and she's like, okay, and then you make sure you thread this through there, and you got to feed the wiring through before you close up and so you see these wires get fed through as all of these pieces start to float up in the air and levitate, some of them rotating into the correct position they needed to be in because she had it backwards, and it starts to assemble itself into this rod. And there's almost like a crescent moon handle off the cylinder, and then it comes up like this and attaches on the backside. And then she lifts up her hand, and as it lowers itself down to her hand, and when Vilra opens her eyes, her irises are yellow.
I did something. I trusted my feelings. What's happening right now? I had...
I don't know, but that was, Do you feel okay?
Yeah, I feel...
Vilra blinks. Vilra, what color are your eyes normally?
brown. She has brown eyes.
Her eyes are brown after she blinks.
Yeah, I feel okay. I feel like weirdly energized, a little triumphant because I figured it out somehow. Gila was right. Feelings. Oh, yes. That also means Dale was right. But I'm gonna give this credit to Gila.
You hold this thing in your hand. The panel is open for the 2 brackets, and you've got the 2 crystals in your hand.
Yeah, I think at this point she stands, and goes, "I'm gonna put the crystal rocks in."
Okay.
And like looks at everyone like I'm doing this, and I don't. It feels right, and I think that's. And puts one in, puts hers in first, and then the second one. And maybe like I'm assuming there's a panel that like shuts them, and then kind of clicks it shut.
Clicks shut, absolutely.
Yeah, they're really delicate, so it's good that they have a nice little seat, and that there's. Okay.
And so, the easiest way just to describe this, because you'll all as players know what I'm talking about. It's double-bladed. It's got a curved handle on the outside, and it's the lightsaber of an Inquisitor. And there's an activation switch, and it looks like there's 2 activation switches, like two settings on it.
Sorry, I got all excited for a second. And I think she sort of holds her hand out and kind of like presses one of the activation switches.
A brilliant yellow blade of energy extends out from one end of the laser sword.
She whooshes it a little through the air.
Whoa.
Sorry.
Watch where you swing.
Sorry. It's it makes a noise. It's cool.
Yeah. It is.
And then clicks it off.
But it looks like there's 2 settings to ignite it if you wish.
Okay, and then it's gonna do the other setting.
You click it the other side, and a deep red blade extends from the other end of the laser sword.
Oh. Okay, so it doesn't make orange. We learned that.
Right.
So I guess one red, one yellow.
And it looks like you can activate both of them at the same time if you choose to.
I think looks at everyone and takes another step back and then activates the second one again so that both are out. Oh.
And so now you've got this double-sided blade, one yellow, one red, and it seems very, very unwieldy. Like, if this is a weapon, how would this possibly work? If you were to swing it out, the other blade's going to swing towards you automatically. How is that supposed to help? But the circle, you realize there's actually another crescent moon handle attached to the first one when there's a hinge that it all did, and you can snap it out, and now you've got a circular guard all the way around your hand, and then the two emitters for the blades on each side, and you realize you think this thing can spin.
I can. Okay, everyone take like a big step back. I want to try something. Okay. And like double checks to make sure everyone is in like safe distance. And that the blinds are closed because this thing is bright.
Yeah.
And then tries to spin it, essentially.
And it looks like there's a little on-off setting where you snap it, and instead of you spinning the blades hum faster and faster and start spinning themselves. One of the blades cuts right through the edge of Dale's workbench, and like sparks flash off of it as a burn gouge goes right through the metal, and another one of the blades catches the floor and sheds a shower of sparks all over Two Pint and all over the room, but thankfully nothing ignites. Now there's a massive black stain on the floor from where the energy hit the floor.
We'll get him
And
a
this
carpet.
thing's
You
just
can cover
spinning in a circle.
Yeah, and then she immediately tries to turn it off. The second it
off.
goes poorly, or at least at first it's like, oh, cool, and then it's like, oh, shoot, like, and turns it off. I don't think I meant to do that. I assumed it could do that based on the design. Oh,
That's okay. It's just
We can fix the table. Probably.
need a
it's a
carpet
weapon.
for them.
You just-
Yeah, it's a weapon. I don't know how to use these.
Right.
I was just curious.
It's okay. You're figuring it out.
I don't need to figure it out. I mean, it's cool and I like it, and it feels kind of cozy in my hand, like it likes it there. But
Well, maybe you keep it and you use it outside first.
or just for emergencies,
Yeah.
because maybe sometimes when you have a gun, the threat alone of a gun is enough to scare someone. So the threat alone of a
True.
Right.
lightsaber, I guess, is enough to scare someone.
Right.
And you look very badass.
Thank
When
you.
it's
I
going.
felt like it, and I've never felt
Very cool.
That's
like that before. I mean, I usually get that feeling about Tanal.
Laura, I know what I said before about the threat of a weapon being enough sometimes so you don't have to use it, but when I was learning how to use one of these, kind of taps the blaster at her hip, I was taught you should never take it out and point it at something unless you're ready to shoot.
I don't want to hurt people. That's not... Unless they're trying to hurt my friends or something. Me.
I know.
So...
Hey, me neither. But if you're gonna pick that up, you gotta be ready to use it.
Maybe Dale can
That's
teach
not-
me. I mean, he had this hidden
Might.
here, and he showed me about it, so he knew I might get back into it.
You might. You
To
could just
know how the time.
Okay. I'll just hold on to it. I'll keep it in my backpack or something.
Yeah.
Look, I don't mind being the guy who carries around a big blaster in this group. That doesn't bother me. Alright, so if you're not ready for what carrying that means, what it means you might have to do, that's okay. It's okay if you're never ready.
Okay. Yeah, yeah. Maybe I'll leave it here.
Hey, it's up to you. Not trying to tell you what to do. I don't want it to catch you off guard.
Okay. I'll let my feelings guide me. The Force.
Yeah.
And I'll trust in that.
Trust in yourself. You made it this far.
Yeah, but I also trust you guys. And sometimes I think that's better than the Force. Friends over Force. Don't tell Dale I said that. I feel like he would take it personally.
Hey, you're preaching to the choir.
Yeah.
Also, that lightning bolt sword is not your only weapon.
Yeah, true.
Yeah, I have Tanal.
Exactly.
Great.
The greatest weapon of all.
The greatest weapon of all.
Great.
Tanal.
Listen, a big gun.
We'll get you a bigger one. And then we can give 2 Pint the little taser. Gigala, do you feel comfortable with a weapon?
Don't. I have a weapon. It holds up their camera.
Okay.
But I'll hold a blaster if I have to, but
You want the
I'm
little
not
one?
you all. Yeah, I'll take the little one.
Take the little one.
Last time I shot it with my eyes closed, so I don't know how.
Maybe if we get a chance later, I can take you out somewhere and we can practice.
Yeah, because last time I shot it, I missed like 6 different times. So, and
Hey,
I've got
takes a lot of practice.
this lightning sword. This.
Speaking practice, and would Dale help train you? Do you think after this all is done, he's gonna come with us to or is he gonna stay? Because you might not have a lot of time to get training with him if he's gonna stay.
I don't know. I kind of just need like a primer, like a tutorial.
You could write it down, the little instruction
Yeah.
manual.
It sounds like he had a trainee before.
Yeah.
And
like
he
you
stayed.
said, Vilra, you feel pretty comfortable with it in your hand, right? It felt good in
It
your
felt
hand.
good. Yeah.
It felt really good. So there's for Vilra, there's a feeling like you want to have it. If there was a fight and you there was a problem and a conflict, you feel like you'd want that in your hand. But for May needs to understand the mechanics behind it so that when you're making a choice, you understand the choice you're making. Melee weapons, just like ranged weapons, have a default difficulty number based on the range, and that's the difficulty number to hit somebody at that range, unless they choose to use a reaction and they choose to dodge, in which case then you're rolling an opposed roll against their dodge. Melee weapons have a difficulty number based on the complexity or how dangerous the weapon is. And so even just a vibroblade has a moderate difficulty, which means the difficulty to hit somebody starts at 11 with a vibroblade, unless they react with their melee parry skill, in which case then it's going to be an opposed roll against their melee parry. But
Which is dexterity.
But even just swinging a sword at somebody isn't as easy as it sounds, and so that's why there's a complexity to that. Lightsabers have the difficulty for the lightsaber is at the difficult rating, which means the difficulty number to hit somebody with a lightsaber starts at 16. The lightsaber skill is a melee skill, but it's not melee combat, it's its own skill, and it falls under dexterity. So obviously, if you don't have the lightsaber skill as a skill, you'll default to your dexterity. So however many dice you have in dexterity, you have to look at those dice and to think, can I hit a 16 with these dice if it mattered.
What if you have the lightsaber combat?
So that's a power. And so do you remember what lightsaber combat does as a power?
I know it's on page 54.
Let's go.
I took it because I thought it would be fun, like, just in case, even if I never used it.
To use a lightsaber most effectively, a Jedi learns this power. The Jedi uses this power to both wield this elegant but difficult to control weapon while also sensing his opponent's actions through his connection to the Force. The power is called upon at the start of a battle and remains up until the Jedi is stunned or injured. The Jedi who has been injured or stunned may attempt to bring the power back up, but because you're keeping the power up, the multiple action penalty would apply, so you'd be minus 1d to all your other rolls while you have lightsaber combat up. If you're successful in using this power, there's difficulties for your control and your sense rolls to activate it. But the idea being is that you add your sense dice to your lightsaber skill roll when you try to hit or parry with the lightsaber. And you add your control dice, and you can also subtract your control dice if you want to do less damage, to the lightsaber's damage. And a lightsaber does 5d damage. So you add sense to your lightsaber skill to hit, and you add your control dice to your damage while you're keeping that power up.
So I would add 2d, but subtract 1 because...
So you don't subtract from the damage because you're only subtracting the multi-action penalty only applies to your skill rolls.
Right.
But damage dice are never affected by that. So if your control is currently 2d and you hit somebody with the lightsaber, you add the 2d to the 5d damage, which means you're rolling 7d6 with the lightsaber.
For damage, not to hit.
For damage, not to hit.
Okay. But just to hit, I have to... Okay. It would be my dex, which is okay. It's not great. Okay.
But you saw how it just, with the flick of your wrist and it rotating, it cut through Dale's workbench and it cut onto his floor. So what would it do to a person?
Roughly the same, I feel like. Yeah, I think that's going to be a in the backpack situation for now.
Okay.
Not an on the hip situation because
Okay.
Yeah.
We need to spend some character points first.
Okay.
Ooh.
You're going to quickly add the stun blaster to 2 point.
Yeah, if we can do that.
Roll your droid programming repair for me. It just takes a few minutes. It's not a whole lot of time. But it is going to take away 2 points. You're going to lose your hidden compartment, or not hidden so much as internal storage, just because it's going to contain now the stun blaster in there.
Is that okay with you, 2 point, or do you wanna?
No, it's fine. It's good.
Okay.
I would rather have that than like a backpack in my insides, you know?
Sure. We can also remove it if we need to ever.
Right. So true. And I think 2 point will also, if possible, give himself a little paint job.
Mm-hmm.
And paint like a really faded black paint on there, so like used to look much more imperial, but it hasn't like been in repairs for a while. It's kind of chipped and
Yeah.
I got an 11, but a 1 on my wild die, which we're gonna go ahead and retire that d6 for betrayal.
Okay.
Dice jail.
In the document I sent you, there was another modification you could give 2 point. Do you remember seeing that?
I do. I was gonna ask if 2 point wanted that as well.
Ew.
As it looked like a good thing. I'm looking for it. Infrared vision package. You would be able to see 30 meters, and if installed, your optical sensor turns dark red when activated.
Yes, I would like to look scary, please.
Okay, let's make you look scary.
Yeah.
Are you kidding me? So 6 total and another 1 on my wild die. This is a different one. This dice I didn't think was going to betray me like this.
Throw them all into the river, May.
Yeah.
For real.
No.
Okay.
There's a full moon to
the
cleanse them in.
installations, Vilver, go just fine.
Okay.
And there's now a stun blaster in a retractable compartment inside 2-Pint, and
Let's go.
2-Pint can now use infravision as part of their perception and search rolls in dark situations, but the optical sensor will glow red just like the Seeker droid does.
When you say just fine, is it like, oh, it's just fine, don't worry about it, wink, this won't come back to bite you, nudge? Dang it. Okay. I'm sure it's fine.
2-Pint definitely comes out and does that thing in like a teen movie where like they go into the dressing room and they come out and everyone's like, no, different outfit, and they come back and they got the info. Yeah.
It's a montage. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
We do a whole fashion show
Absolutely.
montage.
Okay.
And same with your paint job. You paint a little bit
Yeah.
and we're like, we
So
snap
you-
a jewelry
you're
case
gonna,
around
You're going
you.
to split up into 2 teams. You've changed your clothes. You've ditched the armor. You've upgraded the droid. You've acquired an elegant weapon for a more civilized age. Apparently, seems to just do a lot of collateral damage, as far as you can tell. And now you're going to pair off and go out into the settlement. Anything else anyone needs to say or do for each other before we do that?
Do
Be
we
safe
need
out
a?
there. Yeah.
Are we meeting back here after? Probably, right? Should we have like a time to be back in case
Yeah.
someone gets kidnapped or something? Just to be
Yeah.
safe.
I think so. Want to say like early evening?
Sure. Well, we can say it in game time, like,
Yeah. Game
like-
time. Yeah. Uh-huh.
Mm-hmm. Okay, and if we're not back by then, that means something's up.
Right.
Dale
Try
gave you a
not to go
call.
to second locations.
Dale gave you a location to call him, but you have comm links between each other, so you can stay in touch with each other as well.
Cool.
Oh,
And
I
as
do
you-
want to write, I want to find a little piece of paper in case Dale gets back before we do, that just says sorry and puts it on the table right where it's busted. And then just like, we'll fix later -V. Like,
Okay. Okay. Yeah, you can absolutely leave a note. It's totally fine. There's a small data pad. You can just leave a note on the data pad and have it sitting right there on the desk. And as you open the door, and that blast of cold air comes in again, but it's daytime, so it's a little warmer today as opposed to the night air.
did we got distracted by lightsaber shenanigans. Did we find me a respirator?
You absolutely did.
Okay. 'Cause
And
I know
and,
his-
and if Tanal wants a respirator, she can have one as well. Because Munich would have had their respirator, so
Yeah.
you have 2 if you both want to be
Okay.
wearing one.
and then
Yeah.
just, different clothing, but still a scarf around the horns kind of
Yep.
thing.
Yep, the best you can. Yep, just disguise up. It's difficult to tell. Nobody would know that you're an Iktochi at first glance. They'd have to be close enough to you and actually peek between the folds and maybe see the shape of your head to really make that call, right? And that's assuming they know what an Iktochi looks like. So. And you're going out during the day. The road will be busier. The market will be busier. The lanes will be busier. And so that works both for and against you. And that there's more people around to take notice of you, but there's more people around for you to disappear into.
We got this.
You go outside with your new gear and your new clothes and your new challenges. You say your final farewells and then you split off. And as each pair disappears into the streets of Somber, we will pause there as we will disappear into our break, and we will see everyone shortly. Vilra and 2-Pint head off in search of a local human mechanic named Brim. A mechanic that has been rumored to have once been one of the supervisors of the repair base that have since been shuttered. A mechanic that you met on your way back from the cantina the night before, who admitted as much to you. You can roll either streetwise, which I believe falls under knowledge, or you can roll a persuasion under perception to ask around and find Brim. Streetwise is usually a little bit more black markety, off the beaten path type requests, but it's also helpful for getting information that you don't want people to kind of know why you're asking. Persuasion is just being friendly to somebody and convincing them, hey, can you tell me where I can find Brim? So either of you can roll either of those
can
skills.
we each roll?
Yep, whatever you can.
Okay.
You both be asking around as you're heading out into the streets, because the settlement's a big enough place that it could take you all day and you wouldn't find Brim. But you know that he repairs the geothermal plants. You know he's a local mechanic. You know he's been around for a while. Dale called him one of the originals, one of the sort of original people from the settlement. Been here for a long time. So you think a lot of people will probably know who he is, especially if he's helping keep their geothermal plants online, keeping their homesteads warm on the cold nights.
Okay, I'm gonna do persuasion.
I'm gonna do streetwise because I have that.
Mm-hmm. Make sure your wild die is one of the dice you roll.
I got a
It
16.
did explode.
It did explode?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And it exploded again. 19. It didn't explode. 21. 2 explosions. I'm so smart streetwise. I'm
You're
on it.
The
And
street
what did you roll for persuasion, Vilra?
16.
Yeah. Okay.
No complications this time.
Yeah.
Where was the double explosions in the fight? Huh? Huh?
Vilra meets the locals, the ones that are friendly enough, the ones that know Brim and like Brim, and she's able to be personable, and they're absolutely able to tell you, okay, if you try here first and here second and here third, here's probably his route. He's probably repairing some of these places today, and so you've got a couple locations you can go track them down, and then when you reconnect with Two Pint finds out from one of the local maintenance droids that Brim is often found after hours inside Bay 2. And the droid says there is a maintenance hatch at the rear of Bay 2 that can get you inside the bay if you need to go and find him there after hours. Because the main entrance to the bay is locked, sealed, under quarantine from the Empire. But that there's a maintenance hatch at the back of the bay. It's small, it's a tight squeeze, but you can get in there. And Brim, the droid knows that Brim often spends after hours inside the bay.
And he works nights usually. So
He works all hours. He's on call. So right, because he's one of the senior maintenance people for the settlement, and the geothermal plants are a must-have, and so he has to be on call anytime they go down. There's other mechanics, of course, but they say Brim is one of the oldest ones and so one of the most experienced. So when he's not fully asleep or already on the job, then they'll often ask for him.
Okay. All right, Two Pint, let's go on an adventure.
Right, let's do it. First, I want to paint on our way.
Oh, yeah, for sure. We'll find you some good spots.
Two Pint, there's absolutely a spot you can paint. Tell me the mural that you put up.
I think learning what we have, Two Pint is gonna paint the rig and have oil spilling out, and the oil is taking the shape of a Star Destroyer, and it's just gonna say, "They're coming. Are you ready?" ? Maybe a couple times if possible.
Okay. Excellent. Yeah, excellent.
That is so good. Yeah, I think Vilra kind of like does the lookout thing.
Yeah.
And then after everyone just goes, God, Two Pint, for real, so good. And the little bit of just like shading that's you can do now with different colors,
I know.
it just chef's kiss. Like,
Right? It adds so much depth.
it does.
Good. Yeah.
Yeah,
Thank you.
this is excellent work.
You head to the first maintenance site. There's a couple workers on site. You ask for Brim. They say, yeah, you just missed him. He was here an hour ago. They confirmed, yeah, he's probably at site 2 or site 3, and so they give you a couple of locations to go. And you're spending a bit of time, and then eventually you come down to another one of the commercial buildings, not a homestead, but one of the commercial buildings, and you can hear workers and clanging and crashing, and you can go through the back alley, and they've got the maintenance shed open for the geothermal plant, and you can see the big pipes descending down into the tundra ground, breaching it and going way deep to pull the heat out of the ground to heat the building. And sure enough, you find Brim and a couple of maintenance workers hard at work trying to get this heat plant back online.
Hey, Brim, I was hoping to speak. Did you need a hand with that?
He says, I sure could. He says, pick up that power pry bar and come over here and help me get this this gear wedged free.
Yeah. And she goes and she grabs it with her noodle arms.
And Two Pint, you can certainly help with some fine tune repairs, like a quick weld or a quick spark or whatever. And so you lose a bit of time, you lose a few minutes helping them, but you're able to help them get back on track, and so that they can continue with the repair, because they didn't quite have the manpower to get everything happening all at the same time that they needed. And they're very appreciative. And then Brim gives them some instructions and steps back with you for a moment and looks at you for a second. He after a moment he recognized your voice, even though it's coming through the respirator, and he recognizes the droid, even though the droid's changed color. But he looks at the droid for a moment, then he kind of nods, seeing the similarities, and then he looks at you and he nods and he says, I didn't know Fest was toxic for your species.
Oh, it's just and she takes it off. At this point, he knows what she looks like, and they're alone. So, yeah, it's more of a the air's cold. My kind are used to a hot planet, so this kind of helps make the air a little bit warmer for me.
He nods. He says, I got another heat plant I got to get to, but how can I help?
So I was, my friends and I, ships. I would love to talk about ships with you.
He nods. He says, yeah, that would be really great. There's a ship in Bay 2 that the Empire impounded years ago, and but still there. It's in okay shape.
I'd be extremely interested in seeing, touching, and being near it.
He nods. He smiles. He says, I understand. He says, look, I got another heat plant I got to get to. I got to keep these guys running. Can't let people get cold.
No.
But listen. And he kind of looks down because you're in the back alley behind the building, right? So there's no one else really around. But he takes one place. He says, look, he says, the main doors are locked, but he hands you a code cylinder. Oh. He says, but this will open the doors. Just try and not let anybody see you going in there, because it's supposed to be under impound.
Yeah.
There was a young captain years ago. He came in and he tried to bribe the wrong officer who wasn't quite so inclined to persuasion or compensation for not inspecting all of the goods, and so he got arrested.
Yeah.
And but the Empire is the only thing that they're more corrupt is that they're lazy, and so they didn't take the ship, they didn't strip the ship. They just impounded it and they shuttered the bay. And it wasn't long after that I think they got tired of dealing with the independents coming and going, and they built the new pad, fenced it with a tower so that they could just control the freighters coming in. And once the Empire operation was fully up and running, there was a lot less freighters coming in anyway, only the ones that were coming in willing to do business with the Empire. So they shuttered the bay, but she's still there. She's a real beaut. But listen, take the code cylinder for that, and then he reaches into another pocket and he pulls another cylinder. This is the command key for the ship. But just don't start her up, okay? It's gonna make a lot of noise. The bay's isolated. You can bang a few tools around. No one's gonna know you're in there, but just don't fire up the sublay, okay? But if you need to access the electrical or anything, this will get you there. I can't be there until later tonight. But if you just want to have a look around, go ahead.
Okay, yeah, I would love to have further conversations about the ship with you, near it, God, and using it at some point, but not now. Maybe later. Should we?
Sure, of course.
Okay. I'm gonna put the respirator back on because it's cold and people are nearby.
Out of curiosity, you said there were some people who might take bribes. You don't know their names, do ya? Just throwing that out there in case for later. Also,
It's the ones that have been around for a while that are typically looking to pass the time that seem to
Right.
be more inclined. But when the rotations come through, and the new junior officers who've been shipped off to a frozen rock somewhere for their first posting, they tend to think that if they perform, that they will be rewarded with a transfer. And so those are the ones that typically don't respond as well to transactions outside the standard practice.
right? Okay, good to know.
Also, I'll walk with you while you go to your next thing. So would you also know where to get a set of like 3PO legs?
Yes,
Oh,
please.
Droid parts, of course. Yeah.
Yeah.
The best place, best selection, depot. Every time.
Okay, if we can't get to the depot because we physically can't.
Yeah, there's a couple of guys around town that do repairs for like the housekeeping droids and some of the smaller message droids and stuff around town. But I can't speak for the work, and I can't speak for what they'll have available, because the legs don't do as well. There's a lot more like treadwells and motorized locomotion happening. A few repulsors, and he gestures to 2 Pint. But
Okay.
really, that's why the depot. If you need legs or you want a selection, the depot absolutely is the best place.
Okay. And their security. No, I'm not going to ask that. Yeah, you've been so helpful, and we'll talk later about ships and using them. Or not using them.
And what I apologize. What did you say your name was? Tizzy? You called yourself Tizzy or
Zisa.
Zisa? He says, no worries, Zisa. It's just it's nice to talk about monkey wrenching with somebody. So yeah.
It is, and in purely hypothetical ways.
And listen, in the locker, just off the cockpit, there's a couple of bottles. So, if it's a cold night, help yourself.
Oh, I've never bottles of what?
You'll see.
Okay.
I got to get to the boys. I'll talk to you later.
Yes, it's been wonderful. Thank you so much. Do you mind? That went really well.
That guy's cool.
Also, should we change your designation for a little bit, or do you not care? I don't know if you want a fake name too.
Yeah, that could be good. I mean, I've got 5 colors now, so I could be 5 Pint. Is that anything?
5
Or is it
Pint.
Too close.
Whatever.
I
We'll
don't
figure
know
it
how
out.
names really work. So
I mean, you use that designation because, you're model type, but also,
right.
huh,
We can brainstorm. I feel like that's low.
low. I'm so
Priority.
excited. That went so well. And
I know.
either it's going to go really poorly and I'm going to get arrested and thrown in prison forever because I trusted the
break
wrong
you
guy.
out.
Thank you. Or it's good and I shouldn't look this gift horse in the mouth.
Right.
One of two
His
things.
teeth, I think.
Also, yeah, don't look a gift horse in the teeth. That makes more sense.
No, it's mouth, but I think it's because of the teeth is the thing.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay. And then I want to figure out what these bottles are and why it's so exciting and why it would matter if it's cold out.
I feel like it's alcohol, right?
Oh,
it
hence
warms you
why
up.
he...
Yeah.
Okay, I don't want to drink that.
Or it's
So-
something wild like jet fuel or something. I don't know.
Okay, which we shouldn't drink either.
Probably not. No.
No.
I mean, I guess I could and I'd go really fast, but I feel like that'd be bad.
Let's find out.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay,
Human.
to the bay?
Yes.
Let's go.
Okay.
You'll run 2 Pint. Go up to the north end of the east end of the settlement, up to the 2 ringed open air bays, one of which you saw the top of a hull of a starship from Dale's roof when you first arrived. That must be Bay 2, and that's where you're going to head to go in. 2 Pint, what did you learn about Bay 2?
2 Pint knows. I'm not 2 Pint though.
So, Vilra has a code cylinder that gets in the front door, but what else does 2 Pint know? How else can you get in the bay?
The sneaky
Maintenance
Come on,
hatch.
maintenance hatch. There it is.
Maintenance hatch at the back.
Yeah.
Absolutely. That's something you'd want Vilra to know.
Yes. Right, and then there's the maintenance hatch in the back, so you can sneak in, and it might be a tight squeeze, but we can fit. And so that's good to know for later. And we can also probably double check that, like, it's locked or it's not locked on both ends, so that if we need to get there later, we can.
Or if we need to split up, we can give Team A. I guess we're Team 1, they're Team A, and
Right.
we can give them the code cylinder so they could come in that way, and we could come this way, or vice versa.
Right.
So that way we can pincer into the place that should be abandoned.
Yes.
And as
Tenol's
you
way better at this.
cross the main lane to get to the other side of town, back to where the bays are, I want 2Pint and Vilra to roll your perception for me.
Oh God.
I got a 13, but no ones, no sixes.
I got an 11.
Tanal and Gila, you head down to the market, head down near the docks. Where the fishmongers are, where the captains are, where the boats are bringing in their hauls. You had heard before that the catches of the fish were getting harder and harder, and that the only safe spot that they could still harvest was through the pot traps on the bottom of the bay and some of the bottom feeding and bottom swimming sea life that was still down there that wasn't fully poisoned by the hydrocarbons in the water of the bay. And so you see a lot of boats, a lot of repulsor craft on the water with their traps, with their big winches and their rigging gear to haul up. And you can try and find the fishmonger that you spoke to with before, Gila, if you wish, or you can just simply strike up a conversation with the captains that are down here and see what you can learn.
I think I'll start with the familiar face and try to find the folks that I talked to before.
Okay. So same as before, you can do so. You've got, Gila, on your knowledge, you've got the skill that's very good for finding people. Did I say it was investigation? Or was it... I apologize, I can't remember the name of it right now.
It is. I have investigate,
Which I believe is the one.
I also have search as well.
Yeah, search for all other things, but investigation specifically is for finding people. So roll your investigation, and then Tanal, you can roll basic search, or you could do a streetwise Tanal if you have that. Yeah.
Ooh, I was gonna ask about
Absolutely.
that. Yay!
Asking a different sort of questions to a different sort of crowd.
Exactly. All
That's
right.
22.
That is gonna be a 23.
Mm-hmm.
Good at what we do.
Gila's asking for the fishmonger, who she's going to find. They say, yeah, he's absolutely set up over there. He is reviewing the latest catch in preparation probably for market day tomorrow. And so you can see him and his spouse and some of the workers and stuff over at sort of one of the tables in the docks where they've got a bunch of sea life all bit out. But Tanal is a blue-collar girl in a blue-collar town, and so she knows who to go and talk to, and you can start to mingle. With that role, Tanal, it's even though it's agriculture versus aquaculture, even though it's farming and ranching versus fishing, the language is the same. What questions do you want to ask the captains that you want to know more about, the kind of things that they would know about, or how do you want to broach the conversation with them about what else they could do with their ships other than just fishing?
I think that the conversations kind of start, like, first of all, you got to just compliment the boat. Like, just get them talking about the boat, get them talking about all the cool features. Like, wow, that looks really fast. Wow, did you fix that yourself? Like, that looks great. Like, That's the quickest way to their heart. I think she kind of knows, is just ask them about the tools that they use.
Absolutely.
And then I think kind of starts to steer the conversation towards, you know, how like rough the waters have been, how, you know, oh, I'm sure that's like that's got to be like a big disruption, you know, all the mining and everything. And that rig out there, that's a pretty dangerous rig, you know, like are they like ready if something happens to it, you know, and kind of just like angling toward like out of like this is a safety concern, you know, just like and, as much as she can, sprinkling in like, yeah, you know, the Imperials are going to be no help, kind of.
You know what it's like when you got your regular crew and you have the same complaints and everyone's heard your same complaints over and over, and then someone new comes along and they become an audience and you get to unload and you get to share. And so they eat it up with a spoon. They like the compliments. They like talking about the boats. They like sharing with the boats. They're asking you if you're looking for work because they need another hand. So there's offers to get on the boats and start working with them if you want to. And then they talk about the fact that the water's dangerous, that the wind and the waves would be dangerous enough, but you have to make sure you don't suddenly repulse through a oil slick. And if you've got a spark off the back and you've got a coupler that's broken loose and it's sparking, you could fly right into an inferno or sail right through an inferno and not even realize that you've done so. And so they start talking about all those dangers on top of all that. They talk about their gear breaking down. They talk about the TIE fighters buzzing the water, buzzing the bay, buzzing the boats as they depart the rig and then come back again for no good reason other than just intimidation and sport.
Yeah. I think that she specifically uses that kind of conversation and like very casually as if this is information that everybody knows, you know, and like, oh yeah, haven't you heard? And like, yeah, and well, I mean, if the TIE fighters alone are doing that, I can't imagine what a Star Destroyer is gonna do.
And they know during the last pickup stop, there was more ships in the air. There was more shuttles, more TIE fighters. They go up to the capital ship and back. There's a landing platform on the rig itself, big enough for a single shuttle to come in on. And then they've got the TIE fighter rack that hangs out over the open water. They said if you get too close to the rig, you really got to watch. There's some good trapping down there because the crabs, they like the barnacles, they like the all the crevices and all the places that accumulate at the base of the pylons of the rig. So it's really good trapping there because they have colonies that nest there. But if you don't watch those waves, if you get washed up against one of those pylons, it'll split you in two. And it stinks over there, and there's oil in the water, and there's oil coming down off the rig. There's other coolants and other liquid solvents that are coming down, and so you get it on your boat, you get it in your skin, it's going to burn for days. So it's really dangerous to sail into the rig, but there's some of the best trapping under the rig.
Right, well, you know, that's got to be really useful just in, you know, in case of an emergency, so they could get everybody off in time, you know, just having folks nearby.
It's their only way. They have to come down through the pylon. There's hatches on the pylons with the emergency ladders to come down. They've had to do it during drills, but in the Empire, every time one of their sleds breaks down for the crews, they've got less of them to sail back and forth. They have to do it on multiple trips. So if they had to do an evacuation, there's no way they'd get everybody off in time if there was a fire.
Right.
But the Empire's lazy, and they won't put more sleds down the water. It's just credits they don't want to spend.
Well, you know, it's a good thing that folks around here are willing to help each other out. You know, heaven forbid something should happen.
Yeah. So you need some work? I got another set of traps. I gotta go haul up tomorrow, and we could use another set of hands.
You know what? I might. I'm kind of new in town, so I'm feeling things out. But I might see you. That'd be great.
All right.
Cool. Thanks. We'll kind of work our way back over to Gila.
Gila, you find the fishmonger. He's going through the morning's catch. There's like a small pile of the ones that he can sell and a larger pile of the ones that it's clear he's separating out that can't be sold. can't be consumed. And then they see you as you come up, and they give you a you know, a good a morning greeting and ask how your day is.
Well, my day is going fine. I see, you know, you're bringing in less and less, you know, these days. Are you worried about what the future looks like?
He says, "Yeah, I think my future is going to be on that monstrosity." He points over his shoulder to the rig in the bay. He says, "If we can't get enough of a catch to keep the stall going, there's not going to be enough credits to last another season, and I'm going to have to get different work."
You know, I hear a lot of people are starting to, you know, fish off the bottom. If that's helpful.
Yeah. You can switch to pots, but there's only so many boats to go around, and they've already got tables to sell on, and so, you know, I could get by a little bit, but it's not going to be enough to not going to be enough to sustain us. And it's either that or we have to pack up and go off world.
And yesterday, you all did me a good turn and showed me some kindness and helped me when I needed help. I wanted to come, and like gets in real close and talks to like whisper into them. I heard the other day in the cantina that they are increasing production. It feels like it's going to get a lot more dangerous and a lot worse before it gets better.
He looks at his spouse, and she looks up at him, and they sort of nod, and they say, they don't have enough safety protocols as it is, and so if they increase production, the accidents and the leaks are only going to increase.
So
The bay will be ruined. There'll be nothing left.
Listen, I'm new here, and you've shown me that, you know, only people we have here are the people that we, you know, have within our community. I'm worried and fear that should something happen to the rig, that those people will be stuck there. Your friends, your neighbors, your colleagues. We would love your help. You know these people better than I do, better than I ever will. I'd really use your assistance in getting people that, should something happen, because it feels like things are getting more and more dangerous and this place feels like a powder keg, that they will help with evacuation.
He's listening to you and kind of nodding, and she comes up and just kind of puts a hand on his arm and sort of squeezes his arm through the shirt, and she's listening to you as well, and she says, if there is an accident, she's talking to her husband now, she says, you know, the captains, it would be good if they knew if there was a call for help. And he looks at her and he nods and he says, I know all the best captains on the bay. He says, but what are you asking? What is happening? Is there a problem? Is the rig faulty?
They're starting to pile up that hydrocarbon on top. All it takes is for one spark, one thing to go off, and all that goes kaboom. There's no consideration for the safety of the people here. You know it better than most. They will throw every last one of you underneath the bus, simply for profit. They're not looking out for you and me. So all I'm asking is, should help be asked for, would you answer that call? Would you ask others to answer that call?
Gila, I want you to roll your persuasion for me, and I'm going to give you an extra D to roll to add to that roll.
Okay. I don't have persuasion. I have con and bargain. So do I just roll my perception?
Perception,
or
and add an extra D to it.
Okay.
Make sure one of those is your wild die.
Gotcha. 24.
She reaches out to you now and takes your arm in her hand, and she says, "We will, and thank you for reminding us." And then she looks to her spouse. She says, "We will," and she looks to him as she says that, and he nods and he says, "I'll let them know. I'll let everybody know."
Thank you. Listen, I'm not from here, but I come from a place like this. When trouble comes around, the only thing we have is one another.
And he nods.
Don't let them break that. Don't let them take that from you.
And he looks at you at that, and he nods, and he says, "Damn right."
Can I buy a fish?
She says no, and then she grabs one and starts wrapping one up for you.
Thank you.
And now Gila's going to be carrying a big fish. You reconnect with Tanal. One of you had a conversation, the other one had a conversation. You compare notes. Where are you going to head to now?
Do we want to get in touch with the others?
Think so.
Alright.
You can use the comm link. Reach out to Vilra and 2 Pint.
I'll pause them.
You're within sight of the bay, having crossed through the main lanes, casters on the sides. The bays almost stretch out into the tundra itself because they are obviously built at the edge of the settlement where there was the most room. Massive walls, going up probably 3 meters, but they're open air at the top, and then it's quite thick walls, and then there's a indent for the main door, and you can see there's like some stencils, some really unoriginal artwork in 2 Pint size of the impounded, quarantined, off limits from the Empire. But there's control panels and such. And again, like you noticed before, other than the control panel itself, you notice that the bay doesn't appear to have any power to it. It's like they turned the power off. And as you approach and you see it, your comm link goes off.
Oh, crap. Forgot we had that. Hello?
Hey, we are pretty much done at the market. We just wanted to check in with you guys and see if we could meet up.
Yeah, we're about to go check out the ship.
Oh,
We should use a code word. I'm gonna go check out a snow dune.
okay.
Is that a
Where
thing?
is this
I don't
snow
know.
dune? Okay.
And then it gives sort of rough directions.
Okay, we'll find
Meet
it.
us in this specific spot because not we, 2 Pint, or 5 Pint. We're playing with that.
Right. If you have a good name for me, let me know. I need a code name.
Yeah, we're
Okay,
thinking of
thanks.
code names.
All right,
um,
we'll think on it.
Okay, we got a sneaky way in. We also do have door codes. Things with
Okay.
Bram went great. I'm
Yeah?
skeptical and scared now, but great otherwise.
Okay. All right, we'll head over.
Okay,
Is
cool.
it-
Yeah,
all right.
you too.
Yeah, sounds like they made a lot of progress. That's awesome.
It's going really well. It's kind of scaring me.
2 Pint, in the time it took Vilra to have that conversation, tell me the mural you painted over these stencils on the door.
Okay, I think. Oh God, I wasn't ready. It's a bunch of fish, kind of swimming all over the place, looking really like sickly and blah. But then as they go, they form into a big fish, and then there's a stormtrooper helmet, and it's eating the helmet.
Got it. Activate the code cylinder. It still restores power to the door and allows it to open enough that it snaps open that you can step through. And then
Oh no, we're
close it again.
sneaking in.
Oh, are you going to go in through the back way?
I feel like that's safer.
Oh, totally.
yeah.
Of course. Yeah.
No
So you
noise,
don't-
much easier sneaking.
Totally.
Yeah.
it takes a bit of finding, but yes, there's a maintenance hatch. It's not hidden, but it's just small, and it's kind of, recessed into the back wall of it. It's cold back there. The wind, as soon as you step out from behind the bay, the wind catches you rolling off the tundra, and it is very cold back there. No buildings, no blockage, right? So it's just the tundra rolling through all the time. But yes, you find a small access hatch, which you are then able to hotwire open and pop it in. And it's like it's literally a small maintenance hallway with like just barely big enough for a normal sized person. Roll war up, and probably wouldn't even fit down this place. But you can kind of shimmy your way through it, and it's a tight maintenance hallway. You've been in these places before, you understand, and you're able to close the hatch and go in, and it kind of snakes through the ring wall of the bay before eventually emerging to the bay itself. And as you emerge to the bay, and there are umbilicals along the ground, there's some old faded paint markings on the landing pad portion of it. There's a series of recessed rooms at various points in the inner wall of the bay. Maybe, sheds for storage and a small office and places like this. You can see where the power generators come from for that. That would have to be restarted to get power back to the bay if the ship needs power as well. But what you see inside the bay, on its landing gear, is a starship. And it is a starship that I am putting into the chat right now that looks like that.
Okay.
Large rectangular body, sublight engines coming off the back, a narrow sort of connecting point between the body of the starship and to the cockpit, a sort of hull shield that comes down over the top, so there's no visibility on your ventral side, but you've got the viewports of the cockpit that look to the sides and down, so you've got your port and starboard viewpoint as well as your dorsal and then your ventral, so down below viewpoint there. And there are umbilicals running from the landing bay connected up to the ship.
Do any of them look, is it just like power potentially and like fuel, or?
That's a fuel line.
That's a fuel line. Okay, can I see where the fuel line's connected to? Like not on the ship, because I assume it, but like
to the ship and then into the bay, probably where the pumping station is.
Okay, I'm assuming the pumping station is empty.
You'd have to go check it out and see. But
yeah, I'm gonna go. Yeah.
So first thing you'd have to do is restore power to the bay in order to get some of the equipment up and running again. So you'd have to go to the power station first.
I almost got killed last time I went to a power station.
I was knocked unconscious.
Yeah.
We could try again, though. Can't be worse than last time.
Maybe we wait for Tanal and Gila to get here.
Ugh, but that's gonna be forever, probably.
I know, we can investigate other stuff too while we're in here. I know, it's gonna be forever. Ugh.
The ramp on the ship is down.
Let's go on the ship.
Okay.
Okay.
Gila and Tanal, as you cross the main lane, getting from the bay side up to the tundra side where the landing bays are, please both of you roll perception.
I'm not worried at all, even a little bit. It's gonna be 15.
18.
Tanal's vigilant, watching the crowd, watching for people. But Gila remembers the hologram that Dale shared, captured from a seeker on high. And so Gila is just keeping an eye above, the crowd, above the building, the skyline of the buildings. And Gila, you see at a distance, and then another one closer, just kind of flying over the crowd, small little probe droids. These aren't the seeker droids with the 4 little tentacly arms that the Empire used in the communication station. These are different, and they're just kind of hovering around with a big lens on one front and a couple of antennae. Hover, stops, looks around the street for a moment, and then continues on down the street. And you haven't seen those above the crowd before today.
Does it look like they've spotted Tanal at all, or have any inkling of going towards Tanal?
Not that you sense at this point. No, it looks like it's just sort of scanning the crowd, and you kind of saw it as you got to street level up from the bay, and you noticed, and so you're able to kind of pause. Whereas Tanal is being vigilant with the crowd, but you see it above, and so between the two of you, you're able to pause, let the probe droid past, and then continue on.
Tanal, I think we need to be a little bit more careful. Somebody else besides the Empire is probably looking for you. It's probably those bounty hunters.
Right.
Eyes on the sky.
Gotcha. Okay. I think that she'll kind of like let her hair down and like shake it out a little bit so it partially covers her face. I think that she'll like pull up the hood on her jacket just a little bit more. And kind of the rest of the time that they're walking, kind of keep her head like angled down sort of towards Gila, like she's talking to them.
Both of you, now that you've seen the droids, roll a sneak roll for me. Periodically, I'm going to ask you for that. It's just going to represent how well you are disguising yourself.
I'm really glad that I put a bunch of character points into that while we were on the break.
Explosion?
Not helping. That's only a 9.
It's a 24.
In the time it takes you to cross through town and then get to the outer wall of the bay, you're able to connect with the comm links, and Two Pint can head out to the maintenance hatch at the rear of the bay on the tundra, where you guys shiver up as you circle around the outside of the bay and head to that maintenance hatch. Two Pint can lead you to it and then bring you inside. And in the time that it takes you to do that, Vilra has gone up into the ramp of the ship. And you step on to the ramp and the deck plates of a freighter. And the
It's
walls,
a freighter.
the corridors, the smell. Do you go to the crew area and the hold, or do you go up to the cockpit?
Up to the cockpit. What kind of silly question is that? She's going to the cockpit for sure.
Roll your starship repair for me, please. Which is under technical.
Yes, okay, I do have that. So it's a 7, and I got a 1 on my wild.
Okay. You head into the cockpit. You can see the floor of the landing bay through the transparent steel glass. You can see a paired set of chairs up at the front and a couple of other stations as well. You probably just have base knowledge. Roll your knowledge for me.
Yeah. Okay.
Do you have any skills under knowledge? I don't imagine you probably do, but just if you did.
Okay, rude, first of all. I have languages and I have intimidation.
Perfect. Yeah, but neither of those apply, so just roll your knowledge for me.
Okay.
Please.
Oh, I explode. So 18 total.
There's only ambient power. You'll need to restore power to the bay to give a boost to the ship's batteries, just to bring them back up online. But there's just tiny ambient power that's still circling through the ship's systems.
Mm-hmm.
You see a calf cup in the cockpit that still has a little bit of liquid in the bottom of it. So somebody's had the systems online recently and has been in the ship. But you're able to pull up the registration indicator on the display panel, and it comes up as a Corilla Space Jim Snore 3 light freighter.
Okay, and those are real words?
Those are real words.
Okay.
Corilla Space is another manufacturing company. It is not the Carillion Engineering Corporation, which is what your uncle's freighter was built under, but it's another Carillion manufacturer, which means this is a Carillion light freighter.
Okay, and I would be mildly familiar with it then. Okay.
There's lots of similarities in terms of what was in your uncle's freighter and here, just made by a different manufacturer, but a car is a car when you're a mechanic.
Okay. And it was Corilla Space. What were the other words?
Jim Snore, GYMSNOR -3.
Okay, all real words. Cool. Okay, I think, is the calf still hot or is it cold?
No, it's
okay.
cold.
It's cold.
Yeah.
It'd be weird if it was warm. I guess you would assume that was Brim's because he's here on the regular. He seems like the kind of guy that would drink calf because he has to kind of work whenever he's called.
Pilot, co-pilot, engineering station, shields, sensors, sublight engines, diagnostic panel, controls, there's the hyperdrive, and then right here would be except right here it isn't, the nav computer. The nav computer that you use to input your hyperspace coordinates for the jump to light speed, and it's just an empty compartment with a couple of loose wires hanging out of it, and the nav computer is not there. It is gone.
Huh. Okay, so we'd need to replace that. I think she starts making this mental list of like what we need to get and what is still functional or appears to be functional based on her preliminary look. I think there's also a part of her that's flashing back to the startup sequence that her uncle taught her, and remembering like what you have to do when and what buttons and switches and flips get done first.
Unlike the dropship, this console and this cockpit is fully intact and everything appears to be where it's supposed to be.
Yes. And then just, okay, nav computer. Oh, we have to go to the, duh. Okay. Unless Brim knows where it is and he's hiding it because it's a personal project that he plays with at home, because it's normal to play with computer parts on your own at home. It's normal to do that because I like doing that. And then sort of just like, I think once again, you see her sort of hyper, like if anyone were to walk up behind her, they would absolutely get the drop on her in this very instant. Kind of just back in her element, hyper focusing a little bit and like going through everything, making like mental checklists of stuff that's needed. And
2 Pint brings Gila and Tanal through the maintenance corridors into the bay, where you see everything that you saw, including this light freighter sitting on its landing gear in the middle of the bay, just glistening in the morning sun, the little bit of the snow drifts that waft off the top of the bay and across the air and then down again. And she's sitting here connected to a fuel line.
Yeah, I think that'll do.
Makes you think we're here. Never thought we'd go to space. Here we are looking at it's gonna be our spaceship. That's wow.
Yeah. We could go like anywhere in that.
We could do a lot of good.
Yeah.
And get a lot of stuff. Think of how much paint cans we could store in there.
So much stuff.
So many
never
paint cans.
You can hear voices outside, Rilla. the rest of you can hear clanging and banging inside the ship.
Happy Vilra.
There's a rumble bench with a table. Looks like a small lounge in the crew area of Vilra. And if the rest of you go up the ramp following those noises, you'll see all this as well. The refresher, the head. You can see tools that on the table. You can see components that somebody's been working on recently, pulling something apart. You can see a holofilm projector sitting on one of the tables nearby. Watch a movie. There's a couple of small cabins. If you go exploring, digging into a few things, figure out what's here, you find a closet, presumably with the previous owner's clothes still hanging in it, including a holster, hanging inside the closet, a blaster pistol. Just left there. And in a couple of different pockets in a couple of different places, including the closet behind the cockpit, you find a little security locker where you find some bottles of booze. And you find a couple different stashes of credits. Quite a few credits. And by the time you're finished counting it all up, maybe almost 4,000.
This thing is... Oh, are we all together now? Have you found Vilra? Okay.
I think so, yeah.
She somehow got oil on her face already. Like, she's already got grease on her. And it's, like, almost surprising how quickly this happened. And it's just sort of like, this thing is ready to go in the sense that, like, it's got money, it's got a gun, it could probably use some food.
Yeah.
And, like...
Well, we got money to buy it.
Yeah, I don't want to touch the money yet, just based on, like, I think it might be someone else's, and while I don't mind stealing, I don't want to steal from good guys, you know? And then, like, we got to get it fueled up, which it's connected, the fuel, and then you starts to go down this, like, spiral of, like, talking about what works, what doesn't, and the nav computer needs to be replaced, what kind of ship this is, which she doesn't even know if you guys understand what that means. But just breezes right past that, and then kind of just going down her little mental lists, and like, we can do this, and then there's that, and then, you know, there's A, B, and C, and then once we do this, and
we can, but it'll work, right?
It'll work. I haven't started it up yet, and Brim kind of warned me not right away, you know, because it'll make some noise, and we shouldn't be here. But like, I have the code cylinder for it, so we can...
Alright.
Oh,
yeah.
this all feels like the ATA all over again.
God, don't remind me.
That was fun. Until it wasn't.
Right. Till we almost died.
Yeah.
I miss when that was the most dangerous thing we had to deal with.
Oh my gosh, yeah. We could definitely die dealing with this. Doing what we're doing.
So now you see the ladder built into the wall that's just like a little concave indent that goes up to the turret.
Man, one sec. I'm gonna check out where this goes. I'll kind of climb up there.
Yeah, I'm gonna go dig into stuff that I definitely shouldn't yet, and goes towards like the engine.
There's a chair you can sit in, controls, not dissimilar to the laser cannons that were on the dropship. But this one appears to be on a turret that can swivel. It's got a blind spot. The turret lines up directly with the hull, directly facing the rear of the ship, because of that raised hull design. So you've only got a 180-degree fire arc as opposed to full 360. Or the pilot would have to be really good and would have to be angling the ship out if there was somebody directly on the tail of this ship.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not perfect,
Well,
but there is but there is a laser cannon on it.
Yeah. I think she kind of like slides back down the ladder, hits the deck with a bit of a thump. I mean, hey, if somebody's chasing us, we can at least shoot at them.
I have a feeling we'll be chased.
I have a feeling you're right.
In order to see what's operational, Vilra, you need to get power restored to the bay so that you can then at least do a quick system check on the ship itself.
And he didn't warn me against that. He warned me against starting it up
So
fully.
the ship engines would be loud, but he just said that he didn't talk to you about the bay at all.
Okay, yeah. So we were gonna go to try to turn the bay on a little bit to get things running. I wanted to wait till you guys got here because last time 2.9 went alone, we got attacked by a spider droid.
Okay, I get it. Yeah. Let's go check it out. We can get things powered up.
So you go to the power station, which connects the bay to the rest of the settlement to restore power, not dissimilar to how it was the communications array. You had to restore power there so that the communications array could draw power from the settlement to come back online. It's the same for the bay. Doesn't require a specialized role. You have the technical skills to do this. Takes a few minutes. It creates a hum. There's some noise, but it's like the background hum of the rest of the settlement. The geothermal plants make a hum. The ships on the bay make a hum. There's lots of noise. If anybody is walking directly past the bay or inspecting it, they might notice that there's power to the bay that wasn't there before. But it's not like it lights up like a Christmas tree. There's no difference in terms of what it looks like when it's powered on and powered off. But now that there's power to the bay, there's a power umbilical charging up the ship again, which you can then use to pull up the ship systems and at least do an inspection and see where the ship systems are at.
Is there a log here in the power station that says why it was shut down?
Yeah, not in the power station, no, but there is an office. There is an administration office in the bay that you could go and check out.
Yeah, I'd like to do that. Go see why it was shut down.
And now that the bay is powered up again, the computers in the administration office will work, so you can pull up the computers. There you go. Gila, go ahead and roll your computers for me, and Vilra, go ahead and roll your Starship Repair for me, please.
The devil.
So I exploded a few times, and it's a 27 total.
Okay.
I've got a 17.
Okay. No complications?
No complications.
Okay. Gila, you're able to determine that, yes, that it was shuttered under Imperial order. There was an order to seize the nav computer to determine the port of origin for the ship. And there was a order to impound any crew or to incarcerate any crew, to impound the ship and to seal it off, and that there's a requisition for a technical team to come in and inspect and disassemble the ship for contraband. That requisition for a technical team is about 6 years old, and it's still pending. It's never been actioned.
Gotcha. Is there any in the office any I guess tech suits? My plan above table. My plan is if should we get caught to use that as a cover, to help to have
totally
some sort of...
change to a technician's outfit. Absolutely.
Yes.
There's a whole set of lockers with them. Absolutely right. You're able to pull up the ship's systems. The cockpit illuminates up. You see all the lights, all the indicators, all the gauges. It's all there at your fingertips, ready to go. Sublight engines are ready to go. Power plant's working. The hyperdrive system itself is online. Sensors are up. There's power to the shields. There's power to the laser cannon. Everything's there. The ship is fueled. The umbilical's still attached, but the ship is fueled. But there's an indicator that there's a signal loss to the nav computer.
Okay. I thought we were going to have to steal some fuel, but we're not going to have to do that. Sounds good. Okay, no nav computer, no nav... Okay, everything else runs, though, so we just gotta get that. Which, I mean, I say we just gotta, but, it's so much harder than just getting something. especially on a planet where we can't show our face or know anyone or talk to anyone. We don't have a ton of money. Well, we do have money now. And once again, it kind of goes off into that like talking to self and walking through the problems. But very excited that this works.
In a few minutes, you reconvene. Gila's changed again. And now you know what you know.
Yeah, so we are fueled up here. Everything works except the nav computer, which doesn't exist right now, really.
I have an idea for that. So there was a tech team that was supposed to be here 6 years ago. There's uniforms in there. If we go to the depot under the idea that we are that tech team, we can possibly get all these things that we need.
That needs to be like towards the end of the plan. Does that make sense? Because I don't want them to start thinking thoughts and having questions.
That's true, but I think we're already working on a pretty short time frame to begin with.
Yeah, okay.
And I would want that done, so, you know.
Because we can't go anywhere without it.
Yeah, if things go well, if things go badly, we can at least cut and run when we have to.
What did Gila's recording rod tell you?
We got
that they're like inbound.
Right.
Yeah. We gotta make this
I can
snappy.
I can go by myself. They don't know my face. I don't have any wanted for it, and nobody really knows me.
Yeah, but I don't want you to go by yourself. We're not doing anything alone, ever.
I don't want you guys to get caught.
Yeah, but like...
Go with you.
Teamwork makes the dream work.
Right. Plus, if it's supposed to be a team, and then only one guy shows up, kind of weird.
Kind of weird. At least one of us. At least take Tanal with you, who's less wanted, I think, than me.
I don't know about less wanted.
Oh, what?
I think that maybe sending in at least either there's someone on a speeder outside. That's crazy. Anyway, I think that maybe if 2 Pint went with you, just because I'm not gonna know what parts you need.
I'll write that down. I'll put everything in all the here, and I'll write. And she grabs asks to borrow your data pad and starts writing down the exact technical words, and then changes them slightly. So it's not like we're asking for the nav computer for this specific ship that's been sitting there the whole time, but one that would work with that ship. But not necessarily. Does that make sense? Am I allowed? Is that a thing I can do?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
Okay.
The tech order's for this ship.
Okay, so we can
say we're doing diagnostics and that we're making sure that everything works, but we need a nav computer just to be able to check and make sure that those things are working.
Yes, because then we're gonna take it back to our evil overlord commander.
Right, but they like the evil overlord commander.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. We're doing it for them, so they're gonna want to help us.
Right, and be like, oh, well, the Empire really appreciates your work. You're doing great. My boss is coming. There might be a reward for you. I don't know.
We can speak highly of how cooperative
and
helpful you've been, and how much you love hurting people.
Yeah.
Whoever has the best chance to roll can roll your con, but what the con is to write up the work order that you're doing between Vilra's starship knowledge and Gila's silver tongue. Go ahead and roll a con for me to craft the strength of the work order, the forgery. I think there actually is a forgery skill, actually, now that I think about it, but we will use con for this because it's probably what you have. But I think actually under perception, there's actually a forgery skill as well.
There's a forgery skill.
There is forgery as well. And I doubt you've raised it, but that's okay. This will be as much verbal as it is written down because you're talking it out.
$23.
Okay. So that's the strength of the work order.
I think that as they're writing up this list and as Gila is kind of reorganizing it and putting it back together, I think that Tanal kind of comes over and just leans over their shoulder to look at it and is like, wow, pulled that together pretty quick.
I did see that. Yeah. You know, you're good with a shooty thing, and I'm good with a thing with a data with words. I'm
Thanks.
great with words.
Yeah. The jumpsuit looks pretty good too. I don't know if it's gonna go with the jacket though.
Huh? Oh, everything goes with the jacket.
Well, I'm glad you like it. I think it looks better on you than it did on me.
Sorry to interrupt. Who's going to the
No.
depot?
I think it's me into 2 Pint.
Okay.
Can we
Okay,
like
so-
strap a little hat to 2 Pint's head or something?
2
Give
pints.
him a hat.
2 pints black. 2 pints
Okay.
black
Yeah,
now.
we've got. I look like an Imperial droid now, kind of.
That's right. We gave you a, I don't want to say facelift because that's inaccurate, but a makeover.
Okay. Gila, are you taking any credits with you?
I will take. I think. What is a reasonable amount of credits that somebody in the Empire would have? Like, would I like know? I'll take 1,000 just to like be safe.
Yep.
Or how much do I know that these parts cost?
So roll your starship knowledge, essentially. So under knowledge, just be straight knowledge, I think, at this point, because you don't have a specialty, like a specialized skill for that. So roll knowledge for me. I'll give you an idea.
In my head, there would be an invoice. Like, it wouldn't be like a transfer of cash. It would be an
Ooh.
invoice since it is on a
Yeah, yeah.
corporate level.
Yeah.
12.
Okay. You know that a used hyperdrive would be in the thousands of credits. A few thousand credits, perhaps, depending on the speed of the hyperdrive and you know how old it is and sort of how fast it is. A ×1 versus a ×2. A ×1 would be a lot more expensive because that's military grade. ×2 to a ×4, civilian grade, those would be cheaper.
But we're just getting the nav computer, right? We're not getting anything else.
Sorry, nav computer, but yes,
Yeah,
sorry,
yeah.
same
Okay.
thing. It's the same. Yeah. Yeah. I think when I looked at that before.
So maybe it's we give them a down payment and then the rest will be basically sent to them later.
Well, I know, not giving him a dime.
And then we could
I'm
just
giving-
not send it. Yep. Uh-huh.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
not
And then
giving him
we're
a dime.
no, yeah, we'll give them something up front to be less suspicious. Just because we kind of
I think bargaining will make us more suspicious. My plan is to go in and just be cold, act like I know what I'm doing, that I'm telling them what to do, not me bargaining with them. I'm just
Yeah.
telling them what it is that I need.
I like that. Yeah, good.
You can be commanding.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
could be commanding.
Do
Alright.
it.
Say
Right.
it without the question mark at the end. Yeah.
I just confirmed because when I was looking before, I was incorrectly looking at the prices for hyperdrives, but it's nav computer. A replacement nav computer to purchase at Vilra, you know, is probably a couple thousand credits.
Okay, so we can put that on the requisition that they will be reimbursed for that. And
Okay.
this would, and I can tell Sheila what would a fair price would be. Maybe a little bit teensy bit lower because this is the Empire being stingy.
Yeah, market price would be around 2,000 credits, but there's always the ability to bargain, right? So
Okay, so we'll say like, yeah, just put on there like 1,800 credits. They'll think they're being lowballed, but I'm sure they won't be surprised by that either.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
They should want to do anything for the glory of the Empire. So
Mhm.
Yes, glory.
Got it.
okay,
I've got this.
okay. G-Lan 2 Pint. Tanal and Vilra are staying behind. Vilra is prepping the ship as best she can and just checking out all the other systems. Tanal, you can probably maybe secure the bay if that's something that you would want to do and just kind of do it. There's actually a stairwell and a gangway that you can actually walk the ring of the bay on the top and actually look around. So if that's something that'll be helpful to be able to get a view, you get the macro binoculars.
Mhm.
And 3-meter high wall. It's quite tall. It towers above some of the other homesteads and buildings in the area, so you can see all the way to the main street, which is in the background, and get at least a partial view of what's happening.
I want to give Sheila my comlink.
For sure.
So if there is an issue, we can, abort and go from there.
If I run into trouble, also get it started without me is what my I'm in trouble word will be.
What started without you? What?
Get it started without me is what I'll say
Oh,
over the
okay.
comm.
Cool.
Okay.
Yeah. And then I'll know.
All right, just be careful, guys. Okay.
Right?
Hold on to these for me. And takes off my goggles that I wear everywhere and give them to you.
Don't you need these?
No, I've got it. It's a promise
Okay.
that I'll be back.
All right. Kind of like, you like fold your glasses and like clip them onto the like front of your shirt. Well, I'll be up top with the binoculars, so I'll be watching you.
Go get him, cowboy.
Blushes and runs away.
Question: can Filra make eyes with 2 Pint and just be like,
Oh yeah. 2 Pint is like not being subtle about it, but sees your eyes and is just like,
okay, just making sure that we can have that moment as well.
yeah, absolutely.
2 Pint. When Vilra turns around and goes back up the ramp to the ship, what mural is on the inside of the wall of the ship when you go up the gang ramp now?
I think it's the 4 of them at the field, like in the fields back home, kind of looking out over their town.
Kind of like the backdrop we had as the backdrop for season 1 of Quadrilateral,
Yep,
right?
that's on the inside of the ship now.
I love that. Love that. And as Tanal, for once, is at a loss for words and breaks off from Gila, and as 2 Pint and Gila, as Vil receives the mural and looks over his shoulder, as Gila and 2 Pint disappear into the maintenance corridor, going out through the back maintenance hatch again one more time, and you lose sight of your friends again. We're going to pause one more time, and we'll be back shortly. You don't need to roll your perception to notice the probe droids, Gila, because you're looking for them when you get to the main road. And you see them again, occasionally zipping past, and then going off in different directions. You see Imperial snowtrooper patrols making their way through the crowd. It's probably midday at this point. The crowd is thick on the main lane. Lots of activity. People going to market. People going to their ships.
Give me regular reports, please. Right.
To their boats for the bay. People making their way down towards the landing pad. People making their way up to the north end of town towards the docks. Lots of activity. Very easy to get into the crowd. But I still need Gila and 2 Pint to make me a sneak roll as you cross the main road.
Okay. I'd also like to state that Gila has put their hair in what would be standard issue, like a standard issue, like military, like low ponytail. Has changed the
100%.
gait of their walk.
100%.
So sneak.
At 12.
That's 16.
Good roll. Good roll. Okay. You see the droids are out. You're looking for them, and then you cross the road across, disappear into the crowd, finding yourself in front of the doors to the depot. You see the doors open and then close as somebody exits, carrying some parts with them, and then you head inside.
Gila, remember to be mean. They're not nice to droids because they don't think we have feelings. You have to be mean to me. I'll forgive you. Don't feel bad. Okay.
The bright light of the snow-swept tundra day is swallowed by the dim light and tall shelves of the depot as you step inside. It's dark, dank. There's kind of a oily smell inside. Shelves all over. Most of them at chest height or neck height, so you can still see above them. A couple of them going all the way to the ceiling. Filled with parts, components, and tools. This place is absolutely loaded. It's probably a double wide building, twice as wide as the other buildings on the street, and seems to go back. There seems to be a long counter at the back that you can kind of just see over a bunch of the shelves. And then looks like there's a door that retracts and goes into the back as well. Goes into like a further back area that's closed off. Dim lighting, a little bit of the lighting flickers. If you knew anything about tools, if you knew anything about parts for vehicles, for speeders, for starships, you might recognize what you're looking at. But it's just a sea of gray and black and silver. But there's a little bit of it everywhere. And 2 Point, you don't need to roll a perception. Just quickly scan, and then you see hanging in racks, not dissimilar from the droid depot back in West Crag, of droid chassis hanging on a rack. And there appears to be a droid section of the depot in this one corner, if you choose to go that way.
Oh yeah, I'm looking for legs.
And you find them. Rack. Like a just like it was in the surplus store, with just a shelf and a rack of pants going down as far as you can see. Droid legs, droid arms, every configuration and color and size and shape you could think of. So you start looking. Get to the back of the depot, Gila. There's nobody behind the counter. You don't hear or see anybody here for the moment, and you're just kind of looking around. And as you look up, mounted on the wall above the back counter, you see a long slug thrower rifle. And you keep walking, looking around. No droids, no attendants, no call button. Just do your thing. And you're kind of just standing there for a moment and looking around, and you can sort of hear a bit of clanging and a bit of rattling as 2 Pint is like sifting through the droid parts like one would t-shirts on a rack to pick the right color and size and shape they want. Mm-hmm. And as you look away from the back counter for a moment, there's a whoosh sound as the door behind you that leads to the back room opens. And there's something cuts the air, and a knife slams into a wooden beam next to where Gila's standing. And as you startle and look at it, and you can see the wood is notched with all sorts of puncture marks where something has been thrown into this wood again and again and again. And you hear a voice call up from the back, "Cutter! Stop scaring the customers, would you? We're trying to run a business here." And a voice laughs. And the voice that laughs, as they step through, and as Gila, you turn to look, and you see this throwing knife that's been stuck into the wood beam beside you. Because, Gila, it's a laugh of a voice that you recognize. Because it's a voice that you've heard before. As you hear the voice of Vin Jayrin come through the doorway towards you. But it's not Vin Jayrin. There's no beard, there's no shaggy long hair. There's a rough shaved face with a bit of stubble and a military crew cut and a couple of marks of scarring as a clone walks through the doorway up to the counter and smiles at you. "Welcome to the depot. If we don't have it, it doesn't exist. What are you looking for?"
Good afternoon, gentlemen. I have come looking to do an acquisition. I'm here with the tech team to work on the freighter that is in the hangar. I have a work order. If you could please fill that post haste.
And he looks at you for a moment. "A requisition, is it?" And do you have the data pad that you show him?
Yeah.
And he takes it. "I haven't seen one of these orders in a while. Hey, Cutter, we actually got a requisition. Looks like they're actually doing their jobs for a change."
I'll get backed up. It happens.
"Yeah, I got some of those nav computer, eh? I think we might have one of those." He says, "Whose vessel is this for? I didn't know there was a scheduled repair on the landing pad."
We've been tracked behind and trying to get caught up on all these orders. You know, it's 6 years old. We're trying to catch up and do some basic maintenance, go through, see if it's working, add it to the list of jobs done. You know how it goes. It's one job after another. There's not enough manpower.
The last time the Empire promised me a credit, it took them 6 months. How do I know that I'm going to get this in the same season it was issued?
You don't, and that's not my job. My job is to simply do diagnostics. You have an issue, take it up with accounting.
And what if I want to take it up with accounting? What then?
Then I recommend you do, but do know that they are nowhere near as nice as I am, love.
Nice. Cutter!
Listen.
Bring up the nav computer. No, not that one. The old one. Bring up that one. And he starts getting a few pieces, a couple of things that Vilwer's placed on the list and got it in as he looks on. He slides down the counter and starts gathering up a couple of things. And he occasionally looks at the data pad and he looks at you. And you can hear rummaging in the back. A little bit of banging, stuff being moved around. 2 Pint, you're in the back corner. You've been looking at legs. You've been looking at a particular set of legs. You've been looking at a particular set of sturdy legs. Not the inarticulate, joint frozen legs of a protocol droid, but the dull gray metal, well hinged at the knee and the ankle legs of what you recognize from broadcast day, of what you recognize as the legs of a B2 battle droid.
Pint is gonna imagine these legs on like a little hanger on the rack. Is just gonna kind of grab it and like zoom over, like start to zoom over quickly and then be like, right, I'm in character, and like slow down and like fly him over to Gila.
Okay.
Thank you, droid.
Puts them on the counter.
What is the listing of these?
He looks at the legs. B2. Yeah, those old clankers came apart as easy as they put them back together. He says, it's not on your list, though.
I have my own personal side projects.
Don't we all? Cutter!
Anything?
Yells to the back. And then you hear some banging, and then you hear a really gruff acknowledgement. I found it! And then another figure steps through the door. Another figure wearing the same cloned visage. But Cutter has a pretty nasty scar up his lip on his face, and his one eye is a dull metallic orb where his actual eye once was. Cutter is bald. And as he comes up and slams a nav computer on the counter, he reaches over, looking directly in Gila's face, and grabs his knife and yanks it out of the wooden beam and slots it into a bandolier on his chest.
We're good with the blade, are we?
Yeah. Good with a blade. Good with a blaster. Good with just about everything in this place. Not that the Empire would know.
Well, that is none of their concern. They are thankful for your service, but your work is your own.
And he puts a nav computer console on the table. It's just a big box with a bunch of wires hanging at the bottom of it. And it's very old. It's scratched up. It's a little corroded. It's a little bit bent up and beat up. And it's even got some like scratchings on the surface. There's scratchings from the rough treatment. The scratchings from when the unit was probably installed and removed. But then there's other scratchings, but they're not scratchings, they're etchings. Someone etched it. Someone doodled with a small chisel or a fine pick on the surface of the nav computer box idly. And as you look at it, it's because you recognize the etchings. Vilra, as you passed away a week in hyperspace in the dropship up in the cockpit alone with your thoughts, away from your friends to have a break, what kind of etchings would Vilra put into the surface of metal objects like droids and components and the surface of a nav box at her knee height?
I think she knows she's not artistic. However, I think she would have drawn or just sort of doodled like home, essentially, like the cliff view of the repair bay, of the like where the freighter used to land and the waterfall and stuff like that.
So even an engraving of like a little waterfall and then like a little cliff, something simpler. It's just
something pretty simple, but something that made her think of home. Yeah. They have our stuff.
Is this it? Are you serious?
What's wrong with it? You want a nav computer? It's a nav computer.
I couldn't tell. It looked like a pile of junk, but if that is all you have, I guess that'll have to do.
Don't mind my brother. He thinks everything in here is gold and treasure.
Treasure has a purpose to serve.
The only thing treasure is what I can hold in my hand. One of these, and he pats the knife. One of those, he gestures up to the cycler rifle that's hanging on the wall above the counter. Anything that leaves a mark. Yeah, that's treasure to me.
Well, that's nice. Are we done here?
The other man comes over, the man you now assume is Complex, the owner of the depot that Two-Pint discovered when they sliced the local network. He's going through the list. One of those, nav computer. No, this 1800, this isn't going to cut it. The Empire undervalues, I know that, but this all of these together, that's at least 25.
You see, what you think is happening here is that this is a conversation. This is a bargaining situation, but I assure you, it is not. You will take what you are given, or you shall take it up with the authorities. There are plenty of troopers out there who will be more than happy to negotiate with you, but I am not that.
Gila, I want you, if that's what you're choosing to do, to roll your intimidation.
Can I help by flashing my night vision so my eyes go red?
You absolutely can. I will give Gila another die on that intimidation roll.
I have a 5D in intimidation.
They're gonna piss their pants.
Wild die explodes. The amount of math. That is 21.
Cutter doesn't seem fazed by your threats, perhaps even enjoys the banter for what it represents, and leans into the counter a little bit as you're talking. But Complex, who also exploded on his willpower roll to resist, puts a hand on his brother's shoulder and just eases him back slightly, and he says, all I'm saying is if the Empire needs the help of the civilian service, We just want to make sure there's fair compensation so that we can keep the lights on and be here next month for you. But I understand that there's a budget, that your hands are tied. There's too many other credit counters in the way. But the legs are off the requisition, which means the legs are a pay-as-you-go service.
You still have not told me the cost of the legs.
He looks over at Cutter. Cutter kind of shrugs. Let's go with, and before he gets to finish his sentence, the door to the depot opens. And a little blast of cold air swoops in off the street, and two more figures step inside, and Complex immediately steps away from you, immediately steps away from his brother, steps, like, still behind the counter, but moves to the side so he can see down the row of shelving and see clearly, and with a loud voice, "Hey, Captain, what do you say? What do you know?" And as you look over and you see an Imperial officer walk into the depot, escorted by a trooper. Not escorted by a snow trooper. This trooper is wearing armor you have never seen before because the armor is entirely black. And the Imperial captain and the black-clad trooper walk up to the counter. The captain makes no look your way and is focused on Complex. The trooper takes a look around the depot and pauses and examines Gila and examines Two Pint.
I think I would
this black, expressionless mask.
I think Gila would stand at attention in accordance with like whatever saluting looks like when being in the presence of a superior officer, and just kind of stand at attention.
I have something I need to show you, Complex. I'm hoping you might give me some insight into it. Something we found on the tundra. And he pulls out a puck. Just like the puck that Dale shared with you with the holographic projection. And he puts it on the counter and they key it on, and a hologram comes up of a Republic dropship. Cutter immediately ignores Gila and comes over and looks at the puck as well. And he's like, "Oh, yeah, look at that." And Complex looks at it and he looks at the captain. "Oh yeah, that's a dropship. That's one of the LAATSs. Those are a little rare. I didn't know they had them this far out." "They don't. That's the problem. It shouldn't be here. And we found it on the tundra. We think it may have evaded a TIE patrol on its approach, but they didn't make the landing. So this is a Clone Wars era vehicle, correct?" And Complex nods. He says, "Oh yeah, the TSs. Yeah, those were rare. You know who used those? Commandos, because they had hyperdrives on them. They were sealed. They weren't just drop ships from the cruisers. They could take a squad anywhere they needed to go. They had good ships. Well, used to be a good ship." "Yes, it seems that someone's already been on the site, attempting to salvage. Some of the components are missing. We were hoping to track its port of origin, but the nav computer's missing. Do you have any information on that?" And Cutter picks up an oily rag off the counter, and he kind of laughs and hits his brother's shoulder and says, "That's your department." And he comes over and he just tosses the rag down the counter and it lands on top of the nav computer. And he puts his arm on it and he rests, and with his big scarred lip and his eye, and he just looks at Gila the entire time. Doesn't move. Complex is like, "Oh, salvagers, eh? Well, yeah, there's a lot of that going around. Sometimes we get lucky, we find it here, and we let you know when we do. But We're not the only dealer in town, you know that. We're also looking for some individuals. And he pulls out a second puck, and he puts it down. They broke into the communications yard, accessed the comm station. It might be completely unrelated, we're not sure. Pulls up, and the same holographic projections, the same holographic recordings that the Seeker droid captured of Vilra, and of Two Pint, and of Tanal, play. I need you to let me know if you see these individuals. They're wanted for questioning. And there is a reward, of course. And Complex nods, hey, absolutely. Anything you need, Captain. Oh, and while you're here, and he reaches under the counter, and he pulls out a small box. And he puts it on the counter. Wanted to make sure you got our donation for the education fund for the orphans. Really important. And Complex looks down at Gila and Two Pint for a moment and then looks back. The trooper steps past the captain, picks up the box, and holds on to it. Yes, the orphans. Tragic. If you have anybody coming in looking to sell a nav computer, you need to report it to me immediately. Keep this one, and he takes back the puck with the dropship information, but he leaves the puck with the wanted information. But these individuals as well, we can't have anybody disturbing the peace and breaching the sanctity of our secure areas. I've doubled the guard at the starport. You understand the importance of this? Ah, Captain, of course. Anything you need. Captain turns, starts to head out. Trooper just watches Complex for a moment, looks over at Cutter. Cutter smiles with his scarry lip and his bit of broken teeth. Still has his arm on the nav computer with the oily rag underneath. And then the trooper turns, immediately escorts the captain out.
I think 18 will be enough.
Complex comes back down. Cutter takes his hand off it, pulls up the oily rag off it. 500 for the legs. And I'll settle up with accounting for the rest.
You.
Cutter hands out his hand.
Drops the credits.
500 credits for the B2 battle droid legs, which Two Pint can retrieve off the counter. You a collector, because it's for sale. Cutter gestures with his thumb. It's for sale. To the cycler rifle up on the wall.
I have a trooper that may be interested in it. How much?
Well, long rifles aren't legal in Somber. But it's not a military weapon, it's a hunting rifle. Right? Hunting!
Yes, of course. Of course, yes.
Another 800 and it's yours.
I'll give you 1,000 for the legs and the rifle, as well as my silence. I know what an LSAT nav looks like. I'm not trying to cause any trouble. 1,000 credits, Richard.
Complex steps up. Cutter's been talking about the rifle, but Complex steps up. He says, "Oh, I know you won't cause any trouble. I don't think you could cause any trouble. I don't think you know what trouble looks and sounds like. I think you come in with your uniform and your data pads and your orders, and you think that that gives you a measure of sway or influence. Maybe you even think it gives you a measure of respect. But I promise you, in here, it doesn't."
Your world is so small. See out there. It all belongs to me. So why don't we stop burying our fangs and just make our deal? 1,000 credits richer. None, my superior officer, none the wiser. And we go our separate ways.
He looks at Cutter, and Cutter, that sort of really rough-looking face, looks at Gila for a moment, but then he looks back at his brother, and he nods, and then he goes over, grabs the cyclo rifle off the wall, puts it on the counter. It's this big, long rifle. I'll just share that with you really fast. Takes the other 500 if you pass it over. You take the legs, you take the gun, you take the nav computer.
That's doing business.
Look forward to the next time.
We'll meet again.
Turns around and starts walking out. The moment I'm outside, vomits. Oh my god, this is scary.
You did really good. Yeah.
Need to lay down.
And we've got a cool gun. We've got legs, which, thank you, by the way. I really appreciate it. I want to go give my friend, who's kind of mean, but probably, some legs. And a gun. We're good. We did good.
Let's go.
Let's go.
I need you both to make one more sneak roll to get across the main road as you keep an eye out for probe droids.
Oh, that is not my character sheet. Okay.
20.
13.
Get across the road, go through a couple side alleys, take a bit of a long way back. Head on the outside of the bay, back into the tundra, the freezing cold, back into the maintenance shed, or the maintenance hatch, back into the landing bay, and you're back inside. You can only see them to Null for bits and pieces when they went, and then they disappear, and then you can see them bits and pieces when they come back. Would Tanal have been on the wall the entire time waiting?
I think probably most of the time, yeah. I think that part of her is like, I kind of want to... She wants to, like, pull herself away to do something else, but at the end of the day, she's just like, I am not going to relax until I see them again, so I'm just going to stay here.
Oh, yeah. Vilra went to go work, but it's just holding her wrench and pacing, so...
Yeah.
And as you watched and saw them finally emerge and come back in, carrying a bunch of things, it's difficult to tell at the distance even with the macros because they're in between the buildings that he's been repaired.
Mm.
They're carrying a couple different things. It's not sure why they have so much stuff. And then as you're watching and you're getting ready to descend the wall, a sound as an engine roars as a shuttle flies over the settlement. A tri-winged Lambda-class shuttle flies over the settlement before circling and descending onto the platform. You see snow troopers approaching the shuttle. There's a lot more troopers at the landing pad than there used to be before. And they form up, and they actually form into like an escort formation, waiting to see who's going to emerge as opposed to a defensive formation. And then the landing ramp drops. There's a bit of activity. There's steam coming off the bottom of the shuttle. It's venting all its gases. It's finished its landing cycle. And I want you to roll your search with the bonus dice from the macro binoculars as you examine the activity on the landing pad.
Okay. Ooh, okay. Plus 3D to perception. What is my perception normally? I feel like probably good. Okay, let's Let me get my dice. These guys. Okay, explosions, but also no complications. 18, 20 plus 1, 21.
Landing ramp descends, gases vent, all the activity in the pads. Snow troopers form a line, and you can see a figure descends wearing a heavy jacket, cap pulled tight of an Imperial uniform as an officer, steps down the ramp and is greeted by one of the officers at the bottom of the pad with a landing pad, and the officer stiffens up and there's a conversation that they have, and then the officer that descends the ramp has a quick exchange and then bypasses, and the officer nods, and then the snow troopers are dismissed, and the officer makes their way to the gate, and as they make their way to the gate, passing the snow troopers, there's now double guard at the gate as well. And just for a moment, the officer pauses, adjusts the cap, and then looks up and looks around the street level. And as they do, with the binoculars, you're zoomed in, and you can see the face of the Imperial officer. But you also see the face of your sister, Ren Sesper. And that's where we're going to leave this episode of Quadrilateral Frostfall. I have been your game master, Jason Collins. You can find my work and episodes of Quadrilateral on my link tree at digital_Collins. And of course, you can find all Quadrilateral episodes on Dungeon Scrawlers Twitch and YouTube channels.
Hi, everybody. My name is Barnaby. You can find me all over the internet at that's_Barnaby. I'm a TTRPG illustrator, and I am also, probably after the session, going to go throw up.
Hey everyone, my name is Mara. You can find me sweating profusely over at College of Lore Dropout or Lore Dropout on the internet and over at Starlight Tales.
Hi, I'm Diana. You can find me at Sapphic Striganona or just Sapphic Striga. You can also find me at Starlight Tales and just going to the bathroom and crying about clones for probably the next hour of my day.
Hi, I'm May. You can find me on the internet at Maybe Mayhem. You can also find me on my podcast, Socially Plagued, and for remembering how to breathe. I'm trying to do that right now as well.
Thank you, everybody, for joining us, and we wish all of our spacers and scoundrels safe skies.